Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Meet Kevin Show. I know very little about what's in store today. I was told there was going to be some Trump, there was going to be some Biden, there was going to be a closing bell, there was going to be some talk about a jet, and maybe a reaction video that I haven't watched yet. I saw the video, it's doing very well, somebody else's video, but I didn't watch it, so I'm excited to see some of this, and we'll get to talk about that since we have a jet. So we'll see what perspective we can add everywhere. So what do we got? It looks like stocks are actually starting to trend up here into the close, which is pretty exciting. Dow's like only negative 0.02 and negative 0.07 on the S&P and negative 0.04 on the Nasdaq. You know what? I'll take that any day. Oil's going back down. Oh, Treasury's down a few points as well. This is great. Okay, we'll keep it up. We're going in the right direction. So what are we starting with?
Well, I got some notes for you here, hot off the press. This is what we're going over today.
All right.
And
Biden is building a wall.
Biden is building a wall. If you remember, part of his campaign, he was talking about not 1 foot more of wall, right? Well, they're going back on that, and they're building 20 miles of wall at the border. This was announced yesterday.
You know, it's so incredible too because there's so much talk about people love bagging on Donald Trump and they say like, oh, I think Chris Christie in the last debate, he's like, Trump only built 56 miles of wall. The reality is he built 80 miles of new wall and then he rebuilt much of the 452 miles of wall that were previously there with a substantially better system. That doesn't mean it's perfect. I mean, any wall isn't perfect, not even the Great Wall of China. You know what? There was a story the other day that somebody was wanting to farm on both sides of that wall, so they just demolished part of the Great Wall. Yeah, just so they could have easier access. But anyway, so wait, Biden is flip-flopping.
Tell me about it.
He listened to us yesterday. We told him if we wanted to quash the Republicans' argument to start doing something about the border and immigration. I guess he tuned in yesterday.
Okay, I do want to hear this because this is not only is this very this is actually really incredible. Hold on, we need a wait a minute. Biden says border walls don't work. Is a CNN story. Can you put this up on screen? Look at this. I just pulled this up. This is Biden on CNN. The top. Can you show? Oh, am I not plugged in? Well, I'll make sure. Can you get to that? And let's see if we can pull this up. Anyway, it's a CNN. I'll replug it here for a second. See if it pops up. But anyway, there's a CNN story. It says Biden says border walls don't work. And then right over that, I tab over, and it's BBC going, Biden approves new section of border wall.
And then this Reuters headline is gold that says, in reversal, Biden to build more U.S. border wall. Trump demands apology.
That's okay. Look at this. Kevin doesn't even plug in the cables here. So we'll do that. Yeah. So tell me more. What do we know about this? When's this wall going up? Do we know when it's going up and how much it's going to cost? I mean, who's going to pay for this? And what Speaker of House is going to approve this?
I have no idea as far as dates, but what I do know is they seem pretty desperate because there's a total of 26 different federal acts that they're kind of bypassing to do this, including it was like a air safety, a water safety. Like they are kind of dismissing a lot of the protections acts because they seem like they want to build this up ASAP.
Yeah, I have a map here. We can pull it up. Here's a picture of what the area that's going to be getting the new section of wall right here, Rio Grande section. That's Biden's wall proposal, which will be really funny because, what Trump's going to do here is he's going to grab this and say, look at all the wall I built, and it's going to be a map of like 452 miles. And then Biden's like, oh, walls don't work. Then all of a sudden now walls do work and we're going to build the wall. And then this is the part Biden, so Trump's going to do one of these, which one do you want? Oh my gosh.
So here's how Biden's admin is arguing that this is a good thing.
Yep.
Because originally in his 2021 campaign quote, Biden said, no more American taxpayer dollars to be diverted to construct a border wall. Well, as we just heard today, they flip-flopped on that, but here's how they defend it. On Thursday, the administration said that the action did not deviate from Biden's proclamation because of the money that was already allocated to Trump's term in 2019 now has to be spent. So they're saying in order to build the wall, we're not going to use the taxpayer dollars that we promised we wouldn't use, but they're just going to use the ones that Trump had already collected.
That's just politics for you, and it's so frustrating because it's like just be real with the American people. Just tell people, look, we actually have a problem at the border. And you know what? You got to give the devil the due, as they say, or however they say it. It's like the wall maybe could actually help, right? That's what like the Biden administration should say. Look, then you could justify it by saying, look, we're using old money, but it is a difference from what we said. But here's why it's going to help, or whatever, right? And it's okay, but we're still following our promise. Come on, it's the same thing as like, 2 quarters in a row of negative GDP. Well, that's not technically a recession anymore.
Has a president ever just gotten up to the podium and taken accountability?
I mean, that's
I was
a good
wrong.
question.
Like I whiffed. I'm sorry. Like have
I
they
would
ever?
say so. I would love to think of some examples, but that's a really good question. You know, that would make a really good video. It's like a sizzle reel of like presidents actually owning up to it. I think one of the most
It would
vivid
have
ones.
to be a short.
Yeah, it'd have to be a short. You know, one of the ones that I thought of as you were asking that, and I don't remember what it was about. I'm sure I could find it, but it was actually Obama going up explaining that there was some kind of mistake, and he says the buck stops with me, and I thought that was actually really empowering. Like we should have more of that. I shouldn't get a question like that and be like, I can think of one. You know, it should be like, oh yeah, all the time. But you're right. You know, it's just how can we spin this into, oh no, we didn't mess up.
Do you want to hear what Trump had to say to this announcement?
Absolutely.
I'd love to hear that actually.
This is in the same Reuters article. As I've stated often, over thousands of years, there will only be 2 things that have consistently worked: wheels and walls, Trump wrote on social media. Quote, will Joe Biden apologize to me in America for taking so long to get moving? So Trump's like, Biden's doing like the right thing. It's just now he's come to his senses to finally do it. And Biden's saying, well, we're just using Trump's money to do it. So Trump kind of still somehow, like always, comes out looking like a champ and taking a W on this. He's like, my funds are still building the wall, and you guys are still taking credit for it.
It's just so hard to argue, and this is not to like take sides and you know with Trump or whatever, but Trump is in this like having officially lost the 2020 election. He's almost gotten now into this crazy like everything has gone his way. He escaped inflation. Biden had to deal with all that inflation. The reality is we would have probably had a lot of that inflation with Trump as well. Maybe we wouldn't have passed some of the inflationary measures like the Inflation Reduction Act. That certainly added. The $1,400 stimulus check. That certainly added. But we definitely would have still had the first round of 2 big COVID packages, Trump's $600 and the $1,200. We would have still had that inflation. But Trump was able to dodge the inflation. Not only that, but then, you know, everybody's like, oh, Trump, you're crazy for the Hunter laptop story. And then it's like, oh, well, it was real. You know, everybody's like, oh, ha, ha. Trump says the market's going to crash if Biden gets in. Oh, well. You know, like, you just keep going down the list. It's like, damn, this guy, he's just nailing it, you know?
There's an interesting perspective. It's literally the last line of the Reuters article. Reuters, however you want to say it.
Reuters.
Mexico, this is the Mexican president speaking. And I've never really thought about it from the Mexican president's perspective. He said, this is a step backwards. If you're the Mexican president, do you advocate for the United States building a wall, or do you, like, because if he's saying this is a step backwards to keep building the wall, it means he's almost in support of his people leaving. Which, if you are a president and if these people are really wanting to come to America to work, then you're hurting your own economy by having the people that are wanting to work.
Are you,
They're
though?
fleeing. Well,
Just because my thinking is so much of that money, like, I don't know what percentage of their economy, maybe that's worth looking up, but so many people who come to the United States end up sending money back home. So I don't know if it's actually helping or hurting the economy in that perspective.
That's a good point. But then at the same time, people are leaving if they really do feel in danger. People are leaving, and you're giving more ground to the criminals and to the cartels and things there. So if you're the Mexican president, are you happy the United States builds it? I mean, obviously he's not.
Think about it. If you're, let's put it this way. If you're Germany and you're like, you know what, we're done with the Poles. We're done with the Poles. We're building a wall, and the Poles are going to build for it. What does that make the Poles feel like? It makes them feel lesser. It makes them feel worse, like they're failing, right? And obviously there's a massive gap between Mexico's GDP and America's, but of course the president's going to say that. He has to, the president of Mexico. So that it makes sense. And really the argument here is, look, we need better solutions, and of course we do. But we probably need better solutions and a secure border.
I feel like if I was an environmentalist, I'd be pissed. Because part of why they're bypassing all of these federal regulations, and I have them here, the Clean Air Act, the Safe Drinking Water Act, the Endangered Species Act, and 23 others, part of why is because it takes a long time to go through all the proper channels. And if they had started the process early, well, we'd still be building a wall, but we would be building it like the safer way.
Sure.
Instead, we kind of procrastinated. Now last minute, it's like, all right, screw all the rules, build the wall.
That's really interesting. It became so bad. Now they had to bypass all of the environmentalists. That's really interesting.
And it's interesting because in 24 hours, quote, you said yesterday, Kevin, that this is probably not a top priority for the Biden administration. Why do you think that changed in 24
They
hours?
saw our video.
Just to get around the obvious, they saw our video. Do you think it was more of a political issue, or do you think there's an actual immigration issue? Is it a political move, or is it an
It's
actual
both.
trying to solve the problem?
Because we're sitting here going, Biden ain't doing jackass. He's not doing anything. Like, get off your butt and do something about it. It's like enough of that, and all of a sudden, enough of the population screaming, like, please, government, do something. If you don't do something, you're just going to get voted out. So that's where it goes to the second part, where yeah, of course, it's also politically motivated. It's like, okay, here's how we're going to do it. Which it is very interesting about the climate impact, or maybe not necessarily climate impact, but the bypassing climate regulations and rules. I was just reading this in the New York Times. Christian, you could throw this up on screen. It's obviously a huge debate as to whether or not climate change is climate change is worsened by humans or not. That's the big debate. We do know that the climate is changing, though. And this graph was incredible. I think you guys could see it here on screen, too. Look at that when you zoom in. This is the September 2023 Antarctic sea ice level. And it is the lowest and about to be on record for the lowest, basically, ever recorded. All of these lines represent 1 year, and here's where we are. And then obviously the dots is sort of your average, your midpoint there. So pretty incredible. Lowest ever recorded. Pretty wild. Little tangent off the wall there, but that is a crazy flip-flop.
Yeah.
Anything else on Biden's flip-flop here?
Well, not on his flip-flop, just why are we still electing 100-year-old politicians to run the country?
No
closing
kidding.
bell in 2 minutes, right?
Yeah, let's jump on over to the closing bell. Remember, go to meetkevin.com to check out those crash courses on building your wealth. We just added a few. Go check them out. We expect all of those to double in price once they're actually live, because right now they're in pre-sale, so there's no content. We're filming that content. All going to be brand new content. It's really, really good. So go to meetkevin.com. You'll see links there to Shadowing Kevin, to Stack Hack, which is actual financial advice, House Hack, you name it. It's all over there. So check that out. Let's go listen to CNBC for the last minute here and get the closing bell together.
Do you have Weeble?
We have to get out of the way. And very often we just want the number to get out of the way and see if the oversold, borderline washout conditions in parts of the stock market, especially the cyclical parts of the market, get some kind of a reversal reaction.
I'm looking at the biggest stock in the market, Apple. Maybe the key to Apple stabilizing was downgrading it, because it's up 2 days in a row. It's that call
Classic.
you just don't see every day.
Yeah. It's, it had obviously had a pretty steep pullback.
I'm joking,
the
of
down.
course,
No, I know you
but
are.
you know what I
but
mean.
The point is
the
that
truth.
People did kind of give up on it in the very short term at that point. The big ones, the big stocks are still acting somewhat as defensive.
Yeah. Nvidia up 1.5%. Apple, as I said, Microsoft. It's split today. Tesla's in the red, as is Meta, Alphabet, Amazon, Broadcom barely hanging
Yeah,
on.
so it's one of those
Tim
things
Cook
where
sold yesterday.
The largest stocks in the market
Pull that
are
up.
killing the smaller stocks. The microcap ETF is kind of in free fall. So yeah, they are the ones that generate cash. They don't actually have to soak up capital and liquidity. I guess that still matters for now. To me, it's about macro for the moment, but investors deeply want to, I think, turn their sights to company-specific stuff starting in about a week's time, when you start to get the earnings coming through and all the rest.
See that? Those macro worries showing up in the Russell, down more than 3% in a week. So keep your eyes there. Looks like we're going to go out modestly in the red. Sets us up for tomorrow and sets you up for OT. Morgan Brennan.
Nice. All right, let's pull on over to Weeble over here. So we got Weeble up. It looks like we've got, you're welcome to pop it. There we go. We got it up on screen. So down just a little over 0.25% there on the NASDAQ. Something we were talking about this morning in the course member live stream is this yellow trend line that we have drawn here. You can see it more clearly on the week trend line. Look at that. You get your rejects over here, and now we're becoming that support. We're almost perfectly on that trend line. Pretty remarkable. Let's see how some other things did. I know Rivian had a rough day. Tesla's down 0.45. Also trying to hold on to this 260-ish level here. Let's look at Rivian, how they did today after they raised, $1.5 billion?
1 point something, yeah.
Yeah, that's 22.8%. I will say, though, you're still way up from the bottom, the 1168. What's the market cap of this thing? I mean, you've got negative earnings.
Market cap is 17 bill.
17 bill. Honestly, that's probably accurate for a company.
1.5 bill raise.
Yeah.
And then if you compare it to a company that started around the same
17
time,
now.
Lucid's at 11 bill. They've just had a really rough go at it.
Yeah, I almost have more optimism for Lucid, for Rivian than I do for Lucid.
Oh, by far.
Yeah, Rivian is it's a great car. I mean, you go in, it's fantastic. I mean, it doesn't have the Tesla FSD, obviously, but you put that aside, it's probably nicer than the Tesla. Do we have a Tesla stuff to talk about?
We do have some Tesla stuff.
Let's hit it.
Also, I mean, the Rivian truck is so practical to me. Like, Lucid is an absolute luxury. It's, beautifully crafted, all that. But those Rivian trucks, the bed's a good size. They have a full-size, spare tire underneath. Just all the functionality they have on those trucks. I don't have enough nice things to say, except for the price is kind of high and it takes a long time to get one.
What is I reserved one and then I'm like, after I bought the Lucid and then sold it, I'm like, I'm not doing this again. It's like I'll watch a video or something like that, which I actually am doing right now. You're welcome to show this up on screen. It just shows some of the details here. Here's someone's review test of the Rivian. It is just the detail they throw in here. I mean, this looks very nice. Look at this. That's practical. Wow. It's the storage under the seats. Unless you have kid seats, then it's annoying. Then I would never use it. But that'd be a great place to put like your shotgun or, the normal stuff. You're like, where do I put this? It doesn't fit in the center console. Anyway, great car. And I will say, as we looked at their finances yesterday, they're getting better. They're still losing a ton of money. It's a great looking car though. And I think I guess at these prices, I probably wouldn't be betting against them anymore. I shorted them, around like 150 down to like 120, and I'm like, okay, I'm done short. I wish I held on to that short. But anyway, there's Rivian for you. So what do we got with Tesla?
So Tesla, there's a couple of things. So over this weekend, there was a U.S. district judge in Oakland that had ruled about a lawsuit that had come Tesla's way regarding owners pursuing claims that the company misled on its autopilot features. And so the judge basically ruled that, hey, you guys signed a thing that you would handle it, an arbitration outside of court, so we're not going to pursue this. So basically Tesla got off the hook on that one.
Wow. So the judge dismissed the case saying, hey, you need to deal with this through arbitration because you agreed to Tesla's arbitration clause. Interesting. And I think it's worth remembering. Back in 2016, which only recently came out, there was this talk that some of the FSD videos that Elon made back in 2016 weren't actually all FSD. That was just like what it could do at some point in the future, but it was advertised as being the autopilot. But like that kind of stuff, I look at it, I'm like, yeah, that doesn't surprise me. That this is kind of Elon for you, if indeed that is true, which I believe it is. But that's interesting. So because what I'm noticing is more and more you actually have regulators kind of supporting Tesla, because you could easily put Tesla through more of a ringer, even through an arbitration agreement. You could get a judge say, well, was it properly disclosed? They were signing an arb agreement. You could play the game, right? So this is really interesting. You have a judge supporting Tesla in the arb claim. And recently when you had, I think it was the Department of Transportation, like the National Highway Transportation Safety Board or whatever, they inquired with Tesla about the Elon mode.
Yes.
I think we had talked about that a while ago. Just the fact that they didn't immediately punish Tesla, chastise Tesla, fine Tesla, and say, how could you put a mode in that overrides the safety feature of you having to jiggle the wheel? The fact that somewhere on page 8 or 9 of their disclosure, they actually said and asked the question to Tesla, so what did you learn from disabling that wiggle? Amazing to me. It actually shows that, yeah, look, there might be some shystery stuff in the past, but can we net, is this a net positive? I think it is. And can we move forward? There was actually a bus crash that it was so terrible. I read about this morning. I think it was in the United Kingdom, and they call them it was a school bus. They call them pupils and lorries or pupils and coaches. I don't know. When you read the BBC, everything's like a different language. It's weird. Here it is. It's terrible. Christian, you could throw this up on screen here. Yeah, girl 15 and driver killed after school bus turns over. And I guess what happened is the 40-year-old driver, 39 now, so 39, yeah, the 39, 40-year-old whatever driver, I guess there was footage of the inside of the school bus. And I guess he just went into cardiac arrest or something because in the footage, all they see is him basically tipping over to the left. The bus flips on its side. The girl gets ejected from the bus, and the bus lands on her. And they're shocked that more people didn't die in the instance. But they basically described it as like an instant death.
That's so
sad. But I thought about this, and I'm like, that would not happen if buses had autopilot.
Agreed.
You still had a driver. but it had autopilot because in a Tesla, when you stop paying attention for a long, like let's say you fall asleep because you're on autopilot or whatever, the thing sets its hazards and slowly comes to a stop. And there are so many innocent people's lives who are going to be saved by FSD that you kind of have to look at some of like the shystery stuff of like the past with Elon and just go like, this is definitely a massive net positive going forward for the world.
And with the new FSD too, it used to be that, you know, every minute on the clock basically it'll be like, hey, jiggle the steering wheel. Now it like looks at you, right? The camera's always on. And if you look down at your phone or you're just looking down, it's like 5 seconds. It'll beep at you like, hey, can't do that.
It's so fast now.
So with something like this, if the driver is slumped over, like that bus would, in theory, it should turn on its hazard lights and just pull over safely and probably even call the police for you.
Yeah, no kidding.
And if
Jeez.
it's an EV, you've got a lower center of gravity. You've got the battery at the bottom, so you've got a much lower tip hazard in the first place.
True. And in the future, you'll just have an arm that comes out with an EpiPen. MedPin, baby, wake up. Get back to work.
But the lawsuit that we're discussing, it's pretty small. There was like a really small group of people. So the judge ruled that, well, 4 of them, they basically signed on the website when they were buying the car that they would take it into arbitration. The 5th one apparently didn't sign that, and I don't know how you can buy a Tesla without signing that. But apparently the 5th plaintiff just waited too long to sue, and so that's why that one got thrown out.
Wow.
But the most important thing to me is that this basically now set a precedent, right? So when the bigger class actions come, I'm saying, you know, when, not if, but when those bigger class actions come, they're going to get thrown out because, well, there's already this precedent here.
Absolutely. That's a really good point. I mean, hey, it's another win for Tesla. And quite frankly, I think Tesla's a company that's just going to keep winning a lot. And any of the little skeletons that are left over, I think are relatively, I mean, who knows, but at least what I suspect are probably relatively nominal, like Elon getting slapped on the wrist for some nonsense and disclosures now.
Totally. Can we make fun of Tesla for not advertising something really quickly?
Please.
I just sent you a DM. This is fascinating.
I saw this.
Take me a second to get it. Go ahead. So what is it?
So it's talking about Teslas are now cheaper than the average car in the United States. To buy a Tesla, you are officially cheaper at purchase price.
Ready for you, Christian. So here we go. Tesla prices now compete with the average new car. Starting prices fall below U.S. benchmark transaction price. Okay, so this is, there's the U.S. average, is this dotted line. And both the Model Y and the Model 3 are now substantially under the U.S. average for a new car.
And so Tesla fans have been crying a long time, where's the $25,000 car, where's the $25,000
here,
car?
man.
But I don't think there will be one $25,000 car. I think, like we talked about yesterday, Tesla will just drop the prices enough to where people just want to buy them for FSD. And with the prices now lower, I mean, it's just crushing the competition. And to kind of to go a little bit what we talked about with Rivian and their trucks, do you think, what happens to Rivian's market cap when this Cybertruck comes out?
Oh, well, I don't think much. I think that's already considered in the market cap of Rivian, that there's going to be pickup truck competition, whether it's the new Ford Lightning.
I mean market share, sorry, not market cap, market share.
The thing is, it's such an expanding pie that, you know, they can have their little 2% sliver, and that 2% will grow. That'll be, you know, 7,000 vehicles, then it'll be 14,000 vehicles, then it'll be 30,000 vehicles. That'll grow, and there'll be more of them. You know, who loses is like the Corolla and you know, the Hondas and the cars that aren't adapting or adopting yet to the new technologies. I mean, quite frankly, BMWs, Mercedes, Volkswagen in America, these are already very expensive vehicles. I can only imagine how, and I haven't looked, but I should do that. Maybe we could do that now. But I want to compare the price of like what's it going to cost me to get a Volkswagen style Model Y, like a Tiguan or like some kind of larger Volkswagen. I'd like to compare that. And then I imagine something like that in EV, it's got to be twice the cost. We'll take a look at that. But one thing that I do have while we speculate over that is Christian, let's go ahead and throw this up on screen. Matthew DR on Twitter posted, wow, Tesla just released a new Model Y starting at just $43,990. This means you can buy it for $35,990 after the $7,500 tax credit and $500 referral discount. And what I thought was interesting is they compared it to the cost of a RAV4. So you got the Model Y right here, which will put you all in somewhere around $36,000. Doesn't get you FSD though. Add FSD and you're at about $48K. That's less than the RAV4 at about $51,600. Now keep in mind that RAV4 I'm pretty certain is one of the basic models of a RAV4.
The Prime is actually the plug-in hybrid.
That's the plug-in
So
hybrid.
maybe the trim level's low within that, but it is the
The
plug-in
trim
hybrid.
levels with it, because my in-laws, they just bought the plug-in hybrid RAV4, and they may have been including taxes, but they said out the door they were about 71. Wow. So 71, if I go 71 times 92 to take off taxes, I'm about 65. So you could probably trim that thing up to, from 51.6 to about 65. And Tesla doesn't really do that in terms of trim levels, unless you just want different ranges, which is another option here. But I thought that was interesting. Another thing that I thought, somebody was complaining, this person here, Jeremy Judkins or whatever, they were complaining that there's this model, what is this, the Model 3. At the Model 3 event, Elon Musk said, at Tesla, we don't make slow cars. 0 to 60 in 6.6 seconds is slower than the Prius Prime. Now, so first of all, comparing to the Prius is rough. I get it. I had a Prius in 2011. It was like 0 to 60 in like 9. 0 to 60 yesterday. You know, like eventually is a better way to put it, right? So, but with the torque of the electric motors, they're getting faster. And even those hybrids, because the first like 30, 40 miles, they're just cranking battery. And the Prius, what it used to do is it would crank the battery at full torque and kick on the ICE engine. So you'd kind of get both contributing. Not that you really need it, but you did. So I will say, though, 6.6 is still pretty fast. Like when I was, and I know today in this Tesla world, it doesn't feel that way. But, when I got my driver's license, I had this honor of going into my dad's girlfriend's Model 3 convertible, and she let me drive it.
Model 3?
Model 3. It's a Series 3.
Got
so
it.
like the 335 or something like that.
BMW
Model
3,
3.
okay.
Yeah, 335 Beamer, and it was like 0 to 60 in 6.9 in a convertible. I'm like, this is amazing, because everything I'd grown up with were like just these like little Ford Escorts or Camrys or like the Toyota Matrix, and these were all like 8 to 12 seconds, 0 to 60. So anything sub 7 was like amazing. We did, when as a police explorer, we used to 0 to 60 the cop cars just to see how they did. And they were like 7.5, the Crown Vics, turbocharged, 6 cylinders. And you get that famous, like, the sound when you hear a Crown Vic just flooring it. It's so loud. But anyway, you hear it on cops all the time, or on the body cam footages, right? Anyway, that was fast. Back then, it's like sub 7 was fast. And so now somebody complaining that the door to a Tesla is open and it's only a 6.6, my opinion, bullshit. Like, it's totally okay for that car to be 6.6. It's a functional car. I'll tell you, 99% of moms don't give a jack shit how fast the 0 to 60 is.
Oh, my mom does. She loves it.
Okay, well, that's your family. Your family's awesome. So you're the part of the 1%.
Yeah.
But like Lauren doesn't care. Grandmas and grandpas probably don't care. I have the Model S Plaid, which is 1.9 asterisk. And once in a while, it's fun to like show off to a family member or friend. But on a daily basis, don't care. You don't use it. It's not worth the extra money. So I actually think if you can lower the price of the Teslas and oh my God, it's a sub 7 0 to 60, who cares? By all means, sell more cars and lower the cost. I don't know. What do you guys say? Am I wrong here about that?
No, you're totally right. And our friend Gary Black said he talked to his Tesla sales contact in Chicago, and the sales rep told Gary that the Model Y rear-wheel drive, which was the one we just looked at, orders are huge, and most buyers don't care about 0 to 60 taking 6.6 seconds. The big questions are about range, how long does it take to charge, cost of charging, and maintenance costs. He told me he gets almost no questions about autonomy.
Okay, there's some stuff to unpack here. First of all, I love Gary Black. He's brilliant. Second of all, that's amazing that he just said a lot of what I just said.
Yeah.
It is very interesting. I did not see that. I may have just recently unsubscribed from Twitter Premium, so I haven't really been on it that much. So don't tell anyone. But anyway, this scrolling social media is too addicting and unproductive for me. I have like mental problems with just sitting. If I scroll, I'm gone for like 30 minutes to an hour, and it's like, what did I get done? Nothing.
Yeah.
So I'm just banning myself from scrolling social media. Like, if I could get a good podcast on or a video on and I have it on in the background or something, it's great.
Yeah.
But the scrolling stuff? Anyway, the second thing really quick that I want to mention is, No questions about autonomy. That's shocking to me.
I mean, does Lauren ever get into your Model S and be like, all right, how do I turn FSD on? Like,
No.
You've had to teach her.
I have to force her.
Yeah, intentionally teach her. Most people, unless you're like a tech bro, don't it's cool to if you aren't a tech bro that uses it normally, it's a party trick almost.
Yeah, party trick is the back of Mikey's Model Y with those disco lights, man. USB disco lights. We gotta link those or something.
Party lights.
Just look them up on Amazon. USB
lights.
disco party lights.
Yeah.
Okay, party lights. USB party lights, and you plug them in, and at night it just we should put those on the plane.
That'd be sweet.
Oh, because we got the little USB ports there.
It's interesting because Tesla quote unquote missed deliveries with Shanghai being down Q3, and they announced this like the first day of Q4. Do you think they're going to try to make up the lost ground from Q3 to Q4 and to make that full year expectation with this announcement of the Model Y? Because this happened like the first day of Q4. Do you think it was on purpose they waited for that? It's an odd coincidence.
No, I don't know. I would say that the pricing base, I'm just thinking about what Elon said in the past. He says he sort of gets his sheets and he looks and he goes, okay, well, what are the inventories at different locations and what are the prices and what's demand? And if demand's too low compared to what they have, they drop the price. I don't know if there was like the strategy of let's try to game the Q4 or whatever. Maybe you could be right. If you wanted to game it, that would be the way to do it. I would say that nothing matters right now for Tesla stock more than interest rates coming down. That's it. It's just once interest rates come down, this is a game changer. This stock, in my opinion, $600, $700, $800 stock fast.
I have an interesting point of view now. So a lot of people, before Elon bought Twitter, that was even a question. People were like, "Oh, Elon doesn't care about the company more. He's made his money. He's just kind of hands off or whatever, financially speaking." But with Elon collateralizing his shares to buy Twitter from Tesla, he almost has more of a vested interest in Tesla stock doing well than he has in the last couple of years because now it's collateralized. So if Tesla stock tanks, his loans are at risk. There was a piece, I don't know if it was just clickbait, but Morgan Stanley was thinking about taking their paper losses of collateralizing Musk's loan against his Twitter shares. That means Elon has to sell more Tesla shares to make up for the difference to buy X.
Okay, because if they write it down, then the underlying security that's backing his margin loan is potentially lower.
Yeah.
But I wonder, what were the details of the loan that he ended up getting? Because there was talk he was going to take a margin loan, then he wasn't going to take a margin loan. Then it's like, oh, he's going to. I don't remember all the details there, but that is interesting. The argument you're making is that. Is Elon more vested in Tesla because now he owns Twitter and he has debt secured by Tesla stock, maybe, or whatever, on the performance of Twitter? I think Elon is vested in all of his companies succeeding. I don't think he wakes up in the morning and says, you know what, I want this one. I'm going to care more about this company today than this one. I think he just says, where do I need to be to make sure all of them are moving forward? It's kind of like you wake up and you've got these like blocks on a shelf, and every day you just have to raise the shelf a little bit. The shelf doesn't go up unless they all go up. That's at least the way I kind of think about all the different companies, because for me at least, they're all focused on one mission. And I actually think that all of these companies that Elon has are on a very similar mission as well. AI, autonomy, travel to foreign planets, like batteries, all of these technologies work towards robotics and getting to other planets. I think it's interesting. I don't know, am I missing something?
Yeah, I'm reading this Morgan Stanley piece.
Let's see it.
It's Reuters, but Morgan Stanley's.
What's the title?
It is Elon Musk's X is a black hole of value.
Okay.
And they're talking about how 90% of X's revenue is from advertising, and they've seen a 50% drop in advertising sales. Even though on Twitter now we're seeing that. I don't know how to pronounce her name. Linda, I don't know how to pronounce her
Their
last
CEO
name.
now. Christian, I got it up if you want to throw it up. Keep going.
I lost my train of thought. But
I ruined you. I'm sorry.
Supposedly they're on track to break even next year. So it's odd that these banks are even floating around the idea of
taking write-downs,
taking
basically.
a write-down, which would be interesting.
Yeah. Well, because it should probably be marked down somewhere around like 60%.
So this last paragraph says, put it all together, and X isn't what it's worth, is worth less than what Musk paid for it,
Yeah.
and less than its debt. Assume that the company's revenue last year was $4.7 billion based off of results before it was taken private. If advertising is dropped by half that, then this year's sales would be a bit lower than $2.5 billion. Put that on the same enterprise value, same multiple as Snap, which is down a mere 3 times, and X is worth around $8 billion. The company is so far covering its hefty interest payments of $300 million per quarter. The CEO sees profitable days ahead, but between Musk's impromptu product shifts and needing to woo back advertisers, her task is daunting.
Right, exactly. Oh, I see here. If things deteriorate more, the company's backers, already nursing billions in paper losses, face the prospect of taking back the keys. I mean, I know that's not going to happen. I mean, Elon's going to stay in charge of this thing. It's not going to be super profitable really quickly, but you know what? I think they'll be just fine. I think a lot of the changes they're making are useful. I will say what I was hoping for sooner was the algorithm's transparency. Because that's what Elon promised. He promised transparency. He promised, even if you say negative things, like your voice can be heard or whatever. But it really seems like the only way to get attention on Twitter is saying nice things about Elon and really like sensationalized titles. It's just something I've noticed. Like when I scroll through Twitter, I find myself frustrated and angry at the world walking away. Whereas, you take one of those like angry snippets and then you do a deep dive on it, which I do because that's what we do on a daily basis, like all day long, whether it's real estate or finance or whatever. Like, okay, all right. I could see a little bit more clarity here, right? And you have a little bit more logic involved. I don't know. Maybe I'm just ranting again.
I don't know if you heard, but the ADL kind of made peace with Elon and said
tell us about that.
Yeah, they will. Well, I don't remember the full story, but I do remember that they said they will resume advertising, and they had a little bit of a back and forth on X just the other day.
Yeah,
Wow.
Elon quote tweeted him and said something along the lines of "thanks for your apology," because him and the ADL had gone back and forth about who was right and who was wrong, and
He was threatening to sue them just last month.
Well, they were calling him an anti-Semite.
Yeah.
I actually have their statement up. We can throw this on screen if you'd like, Christian. I'll actually go full screen here. So we got the ADL statement, October 4th, just yesterday. In light of recent events, it feels like a useful moment to clarify the ADL position on X and its leadership. And we have noted in our research over the past several years, X, along with other media platforms, that's interesting how they're now throwing in along with other social media
There's
platforms.
actually a breaking news about Musk right now. It says 2 days before Musk's scheduled testimony in date in September of 2023, Musk notified the SEC that he will not appear. Musk attempted to justify his refusal to comply to the subpoena by raising for the first time several spurious objections.
I mean, let me see if I can see. We'll go back to the ADL statement in a moment. That is interesting, though. It's again, none of it kind of surprises me with Elon. He does not like the SEC. He doesn't like regulation. To some extent, I think when you think everything that you're doing is on this pure mission of improving humanity, you feel like everything else that is like regulation and stands in your way is just trying to hold you back from saving humanity. And maybe that's true to some extent, but you need regulation, otherwise you get more Sam Bankman-Frieds. That's literally an example of no regulation. When you become a broker-dealer at first, and we'll get back to this ADL statement, when you become a broker-dealer, a licensed broker-dealer, you get visited by the SEC and FINRA 2 to 4 times per year for the first few years you're in operations. You operate on all these restrictions. That means they come in, they look at your files, your accounting, your books, the papers on your desk, the stuff in your trash. They look at your systems, your procedures, your cybersecurity, everything. And they do that so people don't get FTX frauded. Right? And it's so terrible because that is an example of when capitalism just runs away and it turns into a Ponzi scheme and a total fraud that even some of the people closest to Sam Bankman-Fried are misled by. But let me see here if there is more on this ADL statement. So let's get into this and we'll see what else there is with Elon. So ADL says, social media platforms basically have a serious issue with anti-Semites and extremists using the platforms to push their hateful ideas. Basically, they're suggesting that hate travels further on Twitter and social media, blah, blah, blah. We appreciate X's stated intent over the past few weeks to address the anti-Semitism and hate on the platform. This has been useful. More needs to be done. Well, really, they could start with that transparency on the algorithm. That would be nice. That they promised. Apparently, the algorithm is a little harder to be transparent on than we thought. But anyway, As we have other companies, and in the spirit of collaboration, we are hopeful that we can continue to engage with X on this important matter. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Basically, to be clear, any allegation that the ADL has somehow orchestrated a boycott of X. Oh, well, now it's CYA. Now they're covering themselves. Listen to this. To be clear, any allegation that the ADL has somehow orchestrated a boycott of X or caused billions of dollars of losses to the company or is pulling the strings for other advertisers is false. Indeed, we ourselves are advertising on the platform until the anti-ADL were advertising on the platform until the ADL attacks began a few weeks ago. Now we are preparing to advertise again to bring our message to Twitter. This is really interesting because I wonder how much of this is CYA. It's like, everybody's saying we're costing Twitter billions of dollars. Then you get that Morgan Stanley piece McKay was talking about. It's like, oh my gosh, that means what if Elon loses money or something bad happens? Then we're going to get sued for this. Quick. Let's resume ads. Watch, they'll do like $1 of ads a week just to say they're doing ads. It's just CYA. This
So
is
I'm going to push back on you a little bit with
Please.
saying that Elon hasn't made Twitter more transparent than it already was.
Did I say that?
Yes.
Oh, well, with the algorithm. He hasn't given us the algorithm.
He put it on GitHub.
Oh,
It's
did he?
open
I didn't
source
know
now.
this.
The code.
Twitter's open source algorithm unveiling new code. So these are the 4 things that have been released: the candidate sourcing, how to rank your tweets, filtering, and mixing and serving. So those 4 things have
so
been
they have it
released
out
on
on. Okay,
GitHub.
well that's
It's on
good.
GitHub.
You know, I guess my impression was that there would be like the little messages on your like tweet messages
That
would
has
show you
not
like,
come out yet.
are you being shadow banned? Are you like being promoted or not? Like, are there any restrictions? That we don't have yet. But that's interesting. At least that is a step in the right direction. Okay, all right. Well, I'll take an L there.
The process is so they like talk about the ranking. The process is executed by using a neural network with approximately 48 million parameters.
Yeah, I mean that's just basically saying it's a language model that gets trained, and the way you can train that is hey, here are 1,000 tweets, and then you show them to humans or whatever, which you like the most, and you're trying to teach the engine, okay, learn from these samples, and feed the ones that are going to keep people on the platform the longest.
Yeah.
It's the same thing on YouTube. It's the same thing everywhere. So okay,
sure.
fine. But yeah, I don't know how much the code actually matters compared to, because the code's not going to show you all the training data. It's not going to show you all the biases of that neural net. What you would need is transparency on the outcome of the neural net. Like if there was like a thing that's like the neural net thinks your post is, a 2 out of 10 on virality, and then somebody's like, I love Elon, and it says this is going to be a 10 out of 10 on virality,
Yeah.
and it promotes it more. That would be fascinating. It'll probably never happen.
A shift that has happened is I don't know what the algorithm was originally, but now it's your tweets get promoted based off time spent on tweet. So that's why now you're starting to see people write longer tweets, is because it forces you to stay there, and then that tells the algorithm to push it out more, which is better than like a keyword kind of promotion.
I like that. I think that's actually a great thing. I mean, that's how YouTube does it as well, as how long are people spending on a video per click. And then obviously there has to be a large enough audience. Like there are more 5-year-olds watching Mr. Beast than there are people watching finance videos, as an example. I did see, we just got from Bloomberg News here about 44 minutes ago, SEC investigating Musk over 2020 purchases of Twitter stock. SEC discloses probe of Elon Musk in court filing. SEC seeks to force Musk to comply. This is probably some of what you were reading here as well. SEC says Musk failed to appear for testimony last month. Elon Musk sued by SEC over Twitter deal now is a headline coming across the Market Watch here. It looks like Musk tried to justify his no showing, raising several spurious objections, the SEC suggests. Billionaires being sued now by the SEC in connection with his $44 billion deal to buy Twitter, according to the filing late Thursday. This is brand new. This is brand spanking new. Hey Ken, can we get the filing? Can somebody ask Ken if we can get the filing on this? Maybe I can get it on Pacer or something like that. The SEC is suing Musk in San Francisco federal court to get him to testify in the agency's investigation of the Twitter deal, which closed last year. Musk has failed to appear for testimony. There's no respect at all.
No, he's busy again, I'm
He's
sure.
busy. According to the filing, the testimony subpoena to Musk is related to an ongoing investigation into potential violations of securities laws in connection with Musk's purchase of Twitter stock and his statements related to it. The SEC seeks Musk's testimony to obtain information not already in the SEC's possession, blah-de-blah-de-blah-de. I want to see these things live on video. You know, I said it about Trump yesterday. I'm like, I want to see FTX too. All of these should be live court proceedings. That way the public can actually see what's going on, what the evidence is. Anyway, this is really interesting about Trump. I would like to see some of the details on this actual SEC complaint. Because if we get the actual complaint, we're going to be able to go through and see some probably quotes and some lines. And this is brand new and breaking. So we'll work on that and we'll circle back to that.
I'm going to send you another thing that came out from Bloomberg. Two of our team members put this together. It's a short article, but the premise of it is that Putin didn't kill Prigozhin.
Oh,
And
okay.
now there's a
Let's
new
jump to
story.
that. Give me 1 second. I'll pull that up. Anything else on Elon, and then we'll jump on onto that piece.
Yeah, I think we
that
got
piece
one more thing on Elon.
Yeah, we can do one more
Go on.
piece. We've been going through a lot of Elon W, so we should go through a Elon L.
I
think
beyond
this
the
was-
lawsuit he just got from the
Yeah, I guess
Oh.
that's breaking news. But this is from I think it was last month. Is Musk and a few other of the entire Tesla board of directors agreed to return a lot of the compensation that they had made, and we're talking about the tune of $735 million in stock and cash.
Oh, wow.
And this was part of a settlement lawsuit. So this was by yesterday we were talking about the police and fire of, I think it was Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Well, this one is the police and fire retirement system of Detroit, which are Tesla shareholders. So they're suing Tesla over what they basically believe was excessive board compensation. And this has been on, stock awarded since 2017, going as far back as 2017.
6 years.
So the defendants are, Elon and his brother Kimball and James Murdoch, Larry Ellison, basically every Tesla board of director who'd been there in the last 6 years.
Wow. Wow. And you said the settlement was somewhere around $700 million.
$735 million.
Just a small 50 mil or so each, probably, huh?
Now, to be fair, the majority of this is actually due to the value of the stock and the stock options going up. So that's where most of that 735 is coming from. But it's worth noting, too, that, so for one, the directors, part of this, with the settlement is that you don't have to admit to any wrongdoing. And they're settling to, quote unquote, eliminate the uncertainty, risk, burden, and expenses of further litigation. So basically, I think it's going to be more expensive if they fight it.
It always is.
But they're canceling existing stock options. They're returning stocks from options that were exercised. And they're returning cash from stocks that were sold. So they're really going back and undoing a lot of things from the last 6 years for this one.
Elon actually just responded to the breaking news. He said, a comprehensive overhaul of these agencies is sorely needed, along with a commission to take punitive action against those individuals who have abused their regulatory power for personal and political gain. Can't wait for this to happen.
Well, another thing that Elon's been arguing a lot is that, and this argument has been made by other people as well, that Elon is now almost being targeted. It's a very Trumpian argument, right? And maybe it's true. Almost being targeted like Trump is being targeted. It's, SpaceX gets sued for not employing people who aren't citizens, even though they're working on classified, intel or with classified information or intelligence or whatever, which wouldn't allow the employing of somebody who's not a citizen. Now it's an SEC lawsuit. Next it's going to be more into Twitter. It's very, very, very interesting that this is all coming around about the same time. All of them feel that way. So, okay, well, we'll see if we can get the lawsuit. In the meantime, anything else on Elon? And what do you guys think about that? Is Elon being targeted here, or is this that's the other thing. If he's not being targeted, is this just a convenient thing to say in the times of sort of Trump defending his complaints?
It's really interesting that because the tweet that Elon actually responded to are the three separate cases that he has going on against him right now, which is the Tesla and the DOJ, and then Twitter, with the one that just came out, and then the SpaceX. But it's because they're all being sued by the DOJ right now. But Twitter is actually being sued right now by the Biden administration. Well, they're in trouble with the Biden administration after refusing to hand over Trump's personal Twitter data information to prosecutors. The information included Trump's use of the account, whether others had access to it, or whether he had written drafts that were left unposted. So they want access to his drafts, because Trump tweeted some pretty unhinged things, and I wonder what his drafts were, the things that he didn't tweet that were so bad.
They have access to the drafts, you said?
Twitter didn't want to give it over to the Biden administration.
Interesting.
Twitter initially resisted complying with the search warrant, arguing that the order violated Trump's constitutional right to free speech. This resulted in a federal judge holding the company in contempt and fining it with $350,000. So that really puts you in a hard spot if you're Elon, because you're like, do I comply and give over this stuff, or do I fight this to the death to protect Trump's? I mean, is his Twitter account freedom of speech? Is that like basically somebody coming into, like, police show up at your door with a search warrant, they legally can enter your home with that warrant, as long as it's like legally given to the police.
Right. I do think that looking at somebody's drafts is not cool. Like, that should be protected. Like, if you didn't send it or say it or write it, like, this is like looking at your personal notes. Like, you know, the notepad next to your bed where you write down like your ideas, like, oh, you know, should I sue Joe Biden? Should I sue Gavin Newsom? Like, can you really have the right to search? I mean, I guess if you show up with a search warrant on somebody's house and then you find it, then you could.
Yeah, it's hard because it's like the things that you don't say in public, like the things that you have in your mind are like the frustrations that you have in the heat of a moment. Maybe you got in an argument with somebody and you say some things in a journal that you purposely will never say to them in person, but you just need to express yourself.
Yep.
For some people, that may be Twitter, and it'd be a shame if somebody was exposed like that. But I guess if people always want like the
full disclosure.
The full disclosures of if people commit a crime, they want to know why they committed a crime.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's just also human curiosity. Everybody kind of wants to know, well, why? You know, when somebody dies, the first question is why? You know, and then it's like, oh, it's cancer. Well, what kind? You know, what did they do to fight it? It's because we're all fearful of being, you know, well, A, having cancer, and B, being like investigated and stuff. Anyway, this is going to be interesting. I honestly, CNBC, the Wall Street Journal, Bloomberg, nobody actually has this lawsuit yet. At least they're not linking to it. So we'll find it eventually. We'll go through
Our
it.
attorney's working on it.
Oh, sweet. So we'll get that working. And okay, that's the SEC's lawsuit and some Elon Musk and Tesla stuff. That was quite a bit on Tesla, but it's also a lot of good to talk about. What else have we got? So is it Prigozhin here? Any comments? Any crazy comments to address? Let's address the comments of wonderful people leaving us comments. If we have any Tesla comments, and then let's survey the audience and see what folks are saying. Let's see here. No one should have access to draft in Twitter. Neuralink should close the door. Yeah, I kind of feel that way. Let's see here. Elon can definitely afford lawyers. It will be hard for anyone to beat him. It's not about that. It's not about paying for the lawyers. The process is what's the punishment. It's if Elon gets deposed multiple times by the SEC, and then you know what the SEC will do? Because they're kind of smart in what they're doing with Binance, and I think they could do it to Elon as well. What they're doing with Binance is they're trying to get as much evidence as they can, and then they make it public, and they purposefully get it to make the news. So it's like while they're fighting Binance, they're publicizing some of the stuff they're finding. And it's really a way of weakening the Binance brand while they're attacking. I mean, they're getting them from all angles. Now, then the question is, should they be allowed to do that? Is this an overreach of power? Are they being too aggressive? Does the SEC need reform? Of course we want crypto regulation, but is that up to the SEC or is that up to Congress? And the answer there is it's up to Congress to tell the SEC to do that. Now, what do you guys think? What am I missing here? I'll look at some other comments in the meantime. About right? Close?
Right. It feels like, I mean, drafts, I guess, if you have a warrant, you can come and look through everyone's notes. They can come and look at the diary that I keep underneath my pillow and, my feelings and stuff. But at the same time, it kind of feels like your tweets are your speech and your drafts are almost like your thoughts, It's like they're going through your thoughts.
Yeah, it's going through your brain. It's weird.
Yeah.
That's a really good point. It's like, at what point are drafts free speech versus free thought? People think crazy thoughts all the time. Anyway, okay, so that'll be really interesting. Yeah, somebody writes here, it's legal chaos theory. They're just peppering Elon. Yes, bingo. I think that's exactly right. Okay, good. Next topic. I think you guys sent over a Prigozhin piece here. Is this just the link, or is it in Dropbox as well? And we can go through this.
It's a short article.
Oh, okay,
I have
short
some
article.
of the team's thoughts. They said they didn't have the notes ready yet.
Okay, yeah, no worries. So, okay, what do we got here? Christian, we can pull this one up. So, Putin says grenades went off on Prigozhin jet. Hints at drug use. Okay, so let's catch people up for a moment for anybody who doesn't know. Christian, we could just focus on me for a second here. Let's give you a summary. So basically, there's this group called the Wagner Group. It's my left hand. The Wagner Group is a mercenary group. Then you've got Putin and the Kremlin. It's the right hand, okay? Putin's like, we want to go mine gold in Africa. We want to go have killing squads. But if the Kremlin puts their signature on it, then that makes Russia look bad. Not that Russia doesn't already look bad, but this is the long history of it, shortened really quickly. So they create and fund the Wagner Group. The Wagner Group is a multilateral organization, which is just a fancy way of saying they have a bunch of subsidiaries, and they'll offer the Kremlin catering. You know, maybe it costs them $20,000 to cater an event, but they'll bill the Kremlin $300,000. This was all broken down into a very detailed Wall Street Journal piece. It was very, very fascinating. But that's what they would do. And so they'll charge the Kremlin $300,000. Now they got 20 in cost, but they got 280K of extra profit. What do they do with that? They buy AKs and they train mercenaries. And then they go run gold mines in Africa. They do, you know, their executions, whatever they need to do. The Kremlin has regularly not accepted responsibility for the actions of the Wagner Group and has kept itself very distant from the Wagner Group for a reason, because they do dirty things. Now, in the Ukrainian conflict and war, the incursion into Ukraine that we've seen, Wagner mercenaries were instructed to basically recruit fighters in prisons to help be on the front line with the Wagner Group and try to secure the Dnipro and Donetsk regions, which Ukraine is now fighting foot by foot, mile by mile to recover, because that's where 90% of Ukrainian energy production exists, oil and gas. Surprise, surprise, it's all back to oil and gas. Anyway, Prigozhin got pissed and apparently wasn't getting enough ammunition. He was tired of his men dying and was frustrated that they were receiving poor supplies, whether it was expired food, improper helmets, ineffective body armor, again, not enough bullets. It basically can't fight. And he felt like his men were being led to the slaughterhouse, which they were. So Prigozhin orchestrates this mutiny of essentially taking a convoy of trucks and tanks and driving to Moscow. They would have been in Moscow within about 16 hours. What happened, though, was within about halfway through this mutiny incursion towards Moscow, all of a sudden, Putin's, Prigozhin had this change of heart. And the idea is, you know what? I came to terms with Putin. I made a mistake. I have safe passage for all of our mercenaries to Belarus. And you know what? I apologize to Putin. Putin's great and Russia's great. Whatever. This is the whole catch-up, right? This is where the speculation begins. So that catches you up. Here's where the speculation begins. Speculation is that Prigozhin was captured at that time. Prigozhin was either captured or killed at that time, and he essentially had fake videos, or he was at gunpoint required to make videos or whatever. So Russia could basically make it seem like he died at a later point. And this is where this plane accident comes up. So like 45 days after the mutiny, all of a sudden Prigozhin's in an Embraer jet, which is a private jet that he uses, flying from Moscow to St. Petersburg, in a very sparse area in the middle of basically nowhere with no other planes around. All of a sudden, there's an explosion on board. It's believed the back tail section of the plane broke off. The plane comes spiraling down to the ground, and anybody who didn't die during the explosion died when that plane impacted the ground. Supposedly, Prigozhin's body was on that plane. Now, he could have already been dead from the beginning of the mutiny. He could have died on that plane crash, or maybe he's still alive. I personally highly doubt he's still alive, because you don't escape Putin. You basically never escape Putin. Even if they have to poison your tea years later, which they've done before, he will come after you. Don't cross Putin. So now there's this story here, because Russia was supposed to conduct an investigation into the crash of this plane. We can go back to the Bloomberg piece here, Christian. It says Putin says grenades went off on Prigozhin jet. Hints at drug use. Russian President Vladimir Putin says pieces of grenades were found in the bodies of Wagner founder Prigozhin and other mercenary leaders who died on the plane crash. As he hinted the man who led the armed revolt against the Kremlin's military leadership had been a drug user. Is this like, isn't there an Eminem song? It's like hand grenade pins in every line.
Boy, I don't know Eminem.
Or is that Linkin Park?
Jeez.
It's one of those. It's I'm going to Google
boy.
hand. It's literally hand grenade. I can't spell it right. Pins in every line. Bleed It Out by Linkin Park.
Bleed It Out. Wow, okay.
Bleed
I
It
should have
Out.
known that.
Hand grenade pins in every line. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I guess Prigozhin had some hand grenade pins in his lines.
Jeez.
That is what Putin is suggesting here.
Putin's a Linkin Park fan, confirmed.
Confirmed. Putin likes Linkin Park. That's funny. But what's interesting about this is there is the flight attendant, and this is a rumor, it's hard to confirm, but apparently one of the flight attendants who was on this plane, who has since is obviously dead, but she told her family on a phone call before that the plane had a delay and that there were some unusual repairs being conducted on the plane, and that delayed the plane. And so there's a belief that basically explosives were implanted on the plane, which could be a combination. It could be grenades. It could have been C4. It could have been a box of grenades and the C4 in it with some kind of time delay. Okay, it's going to take them this long. You know, they'll be over this area for about an hour as long as the timer goes off, and this time, boom. You don't even need service to detonate this time bomb. That's my guess is probably what happened. I don't think Prigozhin accidentally blew up a grenade. I think that's... grenades don't blow themselves up, much like guns don't shoot themselves. Like it takes something else to make this happen. So I think this is let's see what here. Unfortunately, they didn't test for alcohol or narcotics in the blood of those who died, Putin said. Well, yeah, of course not, because you know exactly what happened. He went on to say that in his interview, investigators should have conducted such tests because security forces found not only $10 million in cash, but 5 kilograms of cocaine. See? Hand grenades, pins in every line.
Look at that.
Look at this. It's all coming together. It just makes me feel like we really are living in some kind of matrix or something. This is very, very bizarre. I was not expecting that. Anyway, okay. Very interesting update on Prigozhin and a very creepy and surreal Linkin Park ad.
Reference, yeah.
Yeah.
Blowing people up and blaming others is straight out of the Putin playbook. That 1999, the beginning of the Second Chechen War, that was started because of the apartment bombings in Russia. Wow. And they were blaming the Chechens. They were blaming the terrorists. And that's basically, Putin needed the support to start a war and to get reelected again. But the citizens had found some planted, and I don't remember which city this was in, but citizens had found basically a bomb planted in one of the buildings, and they called the police and they took it down. They're like, oh, yeah, this one actually wasn't the terrorist. This was just a military training exercise. This one wasn't going to blow up. And then
oh my gosh.
When one of the apartments in Moscow blew up, I forgot who the representative was who came on stage. He goes, we have just, received news that an apartment had blown up in, and then he named some other city, not Moscow. That one blew up 3 days later.
Wow.
When he was asked about that publicly, he turned off his microphone, didn't respond.
Didn't Biden just have his microphone turned off?
Or maybe he had another, blanking out in person. I don't know.
Or was that Glitch McConnell?
Glitch McConnell. Glitch McConnell. I've not heard that.
Oh, it looks like our top-notch attorney got us those documents.
No way.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are they in Dropbox? Or
I'll airdrop them to you.
AirDrop or Dropbox would be great. Thank you.
I
I'd
have
love to see
airdrop
that.
faster.
Yeah, let's do it. Okay, so either way, maybe try AirDrop and throw it into Drop. Either way, but yeah, I think the lesson is just don't F with Putin, unless you're you're ready to go to war.
Yeah, while we're on Ukraine, Russia, was there? I think you touched on a little bit this morning. What happened with the nukes, the nuclear threats this morning? Wasn't there some news, or maybe that's old news?
I didn't see it. You tell me. But if you can, throw it in Dropbox, because I'm not getting any kind of AirDrop.
I just started.
Okay, you just started. Okay, got it. Okay, let's get this really quick. Okay, we got it. So we won't keep the audience waiting. So we got to throw, before we put this up, we got to throw a pitch in for the Ukraine video. So our lovely editor Christian can edit this in. So what should we pitch today? How about we pitch StreamYard? Go to metkevin.com/StreamYard to learn more about professional live streaming software where you could throw comments up on screen, throw banners up on screen. A lot of cool things that you could do with StreamYard. We use it all the time. We love the software.
We're using it right now.
We're using it right now. But it's not even just for live streaming. It's also used in many regards for people to record videos and edit videos together because it's a built-in editor as well. It's a great platform. It's a paid promotion. Go check them out. metkevin.com/StreamYard is the referral link. All right. Let's now check out this United States District Court versus, this court, SEC versus Elon Musk. Good job, Ken. Ken got these documents like a champ. Look at that. So very good. Okay, so what do we have here? We have a bunch of case law, conclusion, arguments, statement of facts. So we only have 6 pages of fact here. And let's start there. So this is the intro. We can come back to that. I want to see the statement of facts. So April 2022, the commission issued an order directing the investigation into the matter of the sale of Twitter stocks. So this has basically been going on since 22, basically since when they started buying it, trying to investigate Elon Musk for his acquisition of Twitter. Okay, great. Why? It would be very nice to know. So we've got some testimony here. What is this? As part of the investigation in June 2022, the SEC served Musk with a subpoena seeking his testimony. Musk appeared for a half-day session of testimony by video conference. This is what I'm saying, by the way. This is the pain in the butt. The process is the punishment. Elon's got so much going on. Does he want to sit on Zoom for 6 hours? That's a pain.
He's got a live stream tonight. He's got to live stream his Diablo game.
Yeah. You got to get the gaming done.
That's what he means by being busy.
Oh, that's not good. Anyway, okay. Since Musk's last half-day testimony on July 27th, 22, the commission has received thousands of new documents from various parties, including hundreds of new documents produced by Musk. Hundreds of documents produced by Musk. Indeed, nearly half of the documents Musk produced to the commission were produced after Musk's last half-day session. Okay, so they're trying to build up probably another request to subpoena, like to do another interview with him. In light of this substantial new information the SEC obtained following the last testimony, the SEC staff discussed with Musk's counsel the need for Musk to appear for another day of testimony. There it is, okay? The SEC informed Musk counsel that at the time it intended to subpoena Musk in person at the San Francisco regional office. Although Musk counsel informed the SEC of certain scheduling conflicts between June and early August 2023. He's busy. At no point during the April 23 conversation did Musk's counsel object to appearing for another day. So they're basically like, hey, they never said he wouldn't be available for another day, and now all of a sudden they're saying he's not available for another day. Okay. On August 28th, just over 2 weeks prior to this is all really recent stuff, by the way.
Yeah,
I mean,
this was filed today.
Yeah, I mean, this is juicy. August 28th, just over 2 weeks prior to September 14th date for Musk's testimony, counsel requested that they move his testimony by a day. Okay, in requesting that Musk testimony be moved a day, the counsel raised no objection for Musk appearing. Okay, fine. So they probably gave him the extra day. Whatever. Okay. Musk counsel sent, on the 13th, Musk counsel sent a letter informing the SEC staff for the first time that, just kidding, Musk isn't coming.
2 days before.
2 days before. I mean, this is like, I'll be at your party, and then 2 days before, JK, you suck.
It's like he's trying to inverse the pain of the process. Like he's delaying everything to the last minute and then making them push it back.
But, it doesn't work against a bureaucracy. Bureaucracy thrives off this, man. They're sitting there like, oh, so you think you can game us, eh? Like, this just made their 8-hour shift at work a lot more fun. Like, if I'm at the SEC and I'm an SEC attorney, I'm like, oh, I smell a lawsuit I get to put my name on. I mean, this is all resume building for them as well. I mean, this is normal, okay? People, they work at the SEC, and then they can go into private practice because you have experience working for the SEC. This is great for the SEC. This is the SEC's job, like the individual bureaucrats. Like your job is basically go after Musk at this point, which is kind of like the get Trump thing, right?
Yeah.
Like these are resume builders. Whether it's right or wrong, they're resume builders. And Musk's job is leave me alone, I have these companies to build. Unfortunately, these have congressional authorization, and you building your businesses only works to the extent of the law. So unfortunately, this is a losing battle. Screwing, that, in my opinion, was stupid. to 2 days before rug pull them, all you're doing is pissing them off. Like, what are you going to gain from pissing the SEC off? Why?
And you're just delaying the inevitable. At the end of
It's
the day.
not going to make your case better. It's not going to make them feel bad for you. Like if he's like, my child just had a pneumonia or whatever, and I was in the hospital with him, it's like, they'll work with you. But just, hey, JK, I'm not going to come.
WoW Classic Hardcore just came out. I got to spend a couple of weeks in front of the screen.
Did you say wow? Okay, that's justified.
If you had all the money in the world, literally you have the money to buy countries, and if you hated the SEC that much and wanted to make a point, why wouldn't you want to try to make their lives miserable if you financially have very little downside? If you have everything you need and you have all the money to want to try to make somebody's life miserable because you disrespect them that much, why wouldn't you?
Because it's not just you. It's the SEC could prevent Twitter from going public again. They could, if they wanted to, if they thought there was fraud or something, they could stop trading of Tesla stock, eliminating all that liquidity for all the employees, all the shareholders. The SEC is incredibly powerful, and nobody should look at the SEC and say, I'm going to tell you I'm going to show up on the 15th and then give you the middle finger 2 days before to make a point. Because what you're setting yourself up, like the extent to which the law can go at making your life miserable is so extreme, that's not the way to fight it. The way to fight it is the way companies traditionally do this. How does Apple fight the SEC? It's hiring sexy girls to be lobbyists in the halls of Congress and changing the law. Because if you can change the law, then you can go to the SEC with the law. But you can't fight the SEC and say, I don't like your law that you're enforcing. No way in hell. It's a terrible idea.
Got it.
Like the power of the SEC here, it's you just have to roll out the and I know a lot of people might get mad for saying this, but it is what it is. If the SEC is asking you questions, you need to roll out the rubber mat and get on your knees. Okay? It just is what it is, okay? Or at least pretend. Anyway.
Let's keep going.
Yeah. So on September 14th, the SEC responded to Musk's letter and addressed Musk's stated objections. On the 15th, Musk failed to appear, as required by the SEC subpoena. Following Musk's failure to comply with the SEC subpoena, the SEC attempted to negotiate a new date. And I see it's like, all right, well, it didn't work. Well, let's get a new date. On the 19th, they sent an email, basically asking, okay, as one of Musk's stated objections was that the testimony was scheduled for San Francisco, where he complained that he doesn't live. Well, right, because he lives in Austin. Don't mind the Gulf Stream that could get him there in 2.5 hours. Let's forget about that. Okay, the SEC, we saw him, well, at least we saw a security detail in Austin. We went to the Millionaire FBO. They had really good cookies, by the way. Like, shout out to Millionaire Austin. Their little facility there, it's probably one of the nicest that I've seen. And the fresh cookies, very few do fresh cookies. Although there was one, I think, in Oregon that had Otis Spunkmeyer cookies.
There was that FBO in like Nebraska that had the free ice cream. That was nice.
Okay.
Or
Well, that's where we
Oklahoma.
get our fuel.
Yep,
That's
Oklahoma.
the cheapest fuel. That's where you load up.
Free ice cream too.
Yeah, and free school. All right, let's keep going. So the SEC also offered to conduct Musk's testimony at a Fort Worth, Texas office.
They're very accommodating.
They're so accommodating.
Wow.
Look at this. Or any of the commission offices across the country. There are 11. We will let you suck our dick anywhere.
What did SEC stand for? Suck Elon. Never mind. Back to the thing.
On September 21st, the SEC offered potential testimony dates in November. They are being actually quite accommodating here. It's like any office, anytime in September, October. How about November? Okay. On the 24th, Musk's counsel responded informing the SEC that Musk would not appear at any location. This is like, I could just see, it's kind of like when Ken has something, he comes over to me like, Kevin, what about this? And I'm like, no, F that, right?
No,
I could see that literally
in this book,
happen.
half of the things is Elon's counsel saying, Elon, please do this. Like, please do it. Like, we have like ethics we have to follow. Please appear in court. And Elon literally just replying one word, no.
You were saying the Speaker of the House is the worst role to take on right now. I think it's Elon's counsel.
Yeah.
How many people do you think is on Elon's counsel?
At least 10.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yes.
That's where the R&D costs go.
Oh, wait, I thought that was a glass house. Oh. Okay, all right. The next day, the SEC sent a letter to Musk's counsel asking that Musk inform the commission if he had reconsidered and would agree. Wow, dude, wait a minute. This is extremely, like, if I'm a judge, I'm like, bro, They gave you every chance. They rescheduled. They're like, how about a different date? How about a different office? How about, okay, all right, you told us you wouldn't. Now we're going to wait 5 days and we're going to let you think about it. And we're going to go, how about now? Have you reconsidered?
Are you still busy?
You're being subpoenaed. Like, this is important. Let's see what the reply is. No.
Yeah, I know his attorneys are like, Elon, you have to go. Like, this
Yeah.
is not going.
This is, I don't know if is he trying to like make Twitter more popular by getting this, like, because it's like Trump on Truth Social almost, where it's like, you know, what, like I mentioned it to you guys this morning, like, let's see what the latest is Trump said. Go log on to Truth Social or whatever. It's like you kind of have to go there to see the latest, you know?
That's
like a
40
side
chess, man. I
quest.
think he's playing checkers. He just really doesn't want to go.
I think it's more simple than that. It's like mid-curve. It's like trying to think of this conspiracy. I think Elon just hates the SEC that much that he just will refuse.
There's no doubt about that. There's no doubt that his hate is very high, but he's not. The problem is he's not helping himself by doing that. Like, you know what? I've said this before in the past, and by the way, the rest of here is really just case law and filing and stuff like that. Like, a lot of this is not.
So that's
terribly
where it
important.
ends.
Really, that's where the argument ends. But I've said this before about Elon. I think what Elon needs is like a real friend that can just tell him when he's being a fucking idiot, because he does not have that right now. I don't know whom he's got around him, but somebody who read what we just read and was a confidant of Elon Musk would tell him to his face, stop being an idiot. This is not worth it. And literally, this lawsuit is not alleging that he's wrong or that he's done anything bad or that he's about to get fined. It's literally just trying to compel him to show up and talk to the SEC, which you're required to do. I don't know.
Do you know who he in this?
What else is he saying on Twitter, by the way?
This is my second. So my laptop just died. So if you see me on my phone, that's why.
Unbelievable.
In his book, the only person he references as a mentor in his like later stage is Larry Ellison. That's who he calls his mentor and who he goes to for advice. When he was trying to buy Twitter, he went to Hawaii and was he sleeps at Larry Ellison's house when he goes to Hawaii. And so
His plane can make it to Hawaii, huh?
Oh.
Fucking asshole. Mine can't.
It's because your pee-pee's small.
Oh! Yeah, well, look, I mean, there are friends you can have in Hawaii, but you have to ask yourself, how often is he in Hawaii, you know? The reality here is he needs somebody like in his life daily. And he just lost the CFO at Tesla, which I think may have been a version of that at Tesla.
That was weird.
Yeah.
That was because on the earnings call, but that prior quarter, he said, "Yeah, I have my successor in mind if anything happens to me, if I need to step
Everybody
down."
thought it was Zach.
Yeah, everybody. And then Zach disappears.
Yep.
There's a lot of conspiracies about
Maybe
that.
he just can't have friends. You know, I feel bad for him because I think his mind never rests. He said that himself before too. But this is not that he'd ever watch this, but my point is like somebody needs to tell him that he's being incredibly short-sighted with this. Go, you know, send a letter now, and you know what? You could even say it on Twitter, right? Like you want the drama going. If it's checkers or whatever it is, just say it on Twitter and just say, you know what? I've reconsidered. I'm going to meet with the SEC because you know what? I've done nothing wrong. I have nothing to hide. You know, how hard is that? I don't know.
Wow.
Go ahead.
So Elon today, he just tweeted Pixel Perfect, and that's because he removed the links. If you post from what I understand, if you post media is mad at X for removing the headlines from posts because their clickbaits no longer work for them. So it only posts the picture and then the top of the headline, but not the link.
The link? You mean the title of the actual media piece?
So you can't go straight there.
Wait, what? You can't? What?
Media is mad at X for removing the headlines from posts because their clickbaits no longer work for them. And Elon replied saying the text lines were removed from all external URL cards as it was redundant and taking up too much vertical space. Pixel Perfect. I think they're just removing the bottom part where you can't see. Anyways, he responded to that person saying that. So he tweeted under when he got subpoenaed by the SEC that we just talked about, saying that we should like investigate all agencies. And somebody asked, will this actually happen? He said probability 100%. Do you think that he's trying to, what is his plan? Because this is, what's going on?
I see what you're saying. Look, should agencies be supervised? Duh. Should agencies be audited? Of course. Should the findings of those audits be transparent? Absolutely. Does Gary Gensler know what he's doing with crypto? Probably not. But you know what? Maybe he'd be here with us right now if he was. Look, we'll interview you, Gary. If you want to come on over here. We'll interview you. But maybe he'd be like, you know what? We just haven't figured out the right way to do it yet. You know, who knows? Who knows? Like, maybe there's a reason. But that doesn't mean anything. It's not helpful what he's doing because, frankly, if you read the actual lawsuit, you look at it, it literally reads like, Elon, you're an idiot. Now, don't get me wrong. This is just the SEC's POV, right? But here are the types of tweets that do well on Twitter. Breaking, SEC sues, and Christian, when you get a chance, we could throw this up. Christian is playing Legos right now. Christian, you're great. We love you, man. Sorry, I totally sandbagged you. So anyway, breaking, SEC sues Elon in Twitter stock purchase case. So this is Mario's summary. Another witch hunt has started. Bro, that's what pisses me off about Twitter. It's like, we just read the lawsuit. It's like they did everything not to file that lawsuit. Yet your headline is another witch hunt has started. It's been going on since April, if you want to call their investigation a witch hunt. It's been going on since April of 2022. But this is not, first of all, nothing new has started. This is simply asking for him to show up and talk to them. This is ridiculous.
Very accommodating by the SEC to do what they did.
Exactly. But that's not popular. If I wrote a tweet right now and said the SEC was very accommodating to Elon Musk, he should show up and stop being a little bitch, it would get 20 likes. Okay.
You should tweet that and see what the comments are and see what happens.
I'm not even going to waste my time because I know. Whereas this has, it's been posted for 40 minutes. It has over 1,000 likes already. And let's see what their breakdown is. These are a few. Okay. The SEC, which began investigating Elon Musk's purchase of Twitter in 2022, is now suing to force him to testify and comply with their subpoena. Okay, why is that so bad? Like, if you issue a subpoena, but of course that's not the main part of the tweet. The main part of the tweet is, look at all the other stuff they're going after, right? It's like, well, if we actually went deep into the lawsuit like we did, then we go, Elon, you're being a dumbass here. I don't know. Maybe that's the unpopular opinion, but whatever. It's what I believe, and I'm going to say it. Now, another thing here, Christian, you could leave this up. This is what you were talking about, McKay, with basically somebody here is quote tweeting an article. And here's the article. It is actually weird. I don't know how it doesn't feel like a link anymore. What they did is they took away the byline, which the byline would be Hong Kong, can noise cameras reduce potential fatal sound pollution? Whatever. And usually you have that like blue link or whatever down here, white link that you can click on. Now it just says Guardian right here, which looks like alt text. It doesn't even look like a link. This is clickable and it is a link. So you can click on this.
The picture is a link?
The picture is a link. When I click on it, it does go to the page. Yeah. But it doesn't, I don't think users will think that's a link.
No.
I actually think clicks to embedded URLs will drop off completely now.
Yeah.
This is, and I don't know if that's a good thing.
Think about it. They want you to spend more time on X. If you go to, for example, the Washington Post, you're going to get their advertisers, Washington Post advertisers.
Right.
They don't want you to leave the site. They want Elon's goal is he wants people to post the whole article on X because that's why he made the long form tweets. So his argument's like, hey, we're sharing ad revenue with you, Washington Post. Why don't you just copy and paste all of the text right here, pictures in line and everything, share our ad revenue, don't leave the platform. That's
actually a really good thing. I hadn't thought about that because I'm like, well, how's media going to share it? Just post the whole thing basically.
Yeah.
Or a summary of it. Hey, look, here's a summary breakdown of what happened, and then here's a link if you want to read the whole story.
The problem is I don't think X will pay near as much as what those advertisers pay for like the hair loss removals that you get on the side of the Washington Post. Things like,
because there's so many ads.
There's so many ads, and I mean, if you're if you're one of those media companies, that'd be pretty ticked.
Are you having hair problems? Like
I don't want to talk about it.
These targeted ads here, man.
Targeted ads.
These are targeted. You know that, right?
I swear I was on incognito.
Where are all these dildo ads doing?
Why am I getting all these? Yeah.
Okay, so all right, that's Elon. All right, so what's next? Let's see if there are comments on this topic, so we can wrap up on that topic, and then we'll go on to the next one. We are let's see.
I think they're still arguing about Snoop Dogg in the comments.
Oh, how interesting. No, oh, yeah. King Hazy says, no Elon slander allowed. Well, it's true, and that's the popular sentiment. And in fairness, there's a lot of that sentiment because people are invested in Tesla. I'm invested in Tesla, and anything that's bad for Elon is deemed to be bad for Tesla. So you say something bad about Tesla, it's kind of like saying something bad about somebody's stock that they own and their net worth, and it's like, oh, you're an ass for doing that.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, you also have to be realistic, I feel like, when you're an investor.
True.
Anyway, so somebody writes, you need a backup charger for your laptop. Yes, McKay, you should keep that sucker. What did I complain about this morning about your desk? There was one thing I complained about your desk this morning.
For you until about 9 minutes before this podcast.
I'm like, I see his charger on his desk bundled up, and I'm like, bro, you sit here every day. Why is it not like zip tied, like plugged in and zip tied and perfect? If you need another charger, we'll buy you another charger. And then he started stealing the Bigger Pockets charger. He's like, well, I got this one from Bigger Pockets. I go, well, that one's not zip tied either. I mean, if you're going to steal it all the way.
It was a weird transition. I was mailing the charger back
to
Bigger
now we're
Pockets.
talking about transitions.
Oh my gosh. All right, next topic. I'm tired of this. So today is 11 or 12 years since Steve Jobs passed away. So as an entrepreneur, I wanted to ask you what, and I actually gave you a little bit of a heads up about this question. What is a lesson or a principle that Steve Jobs taught or exemplified that you admired?
I marked your message as read. So I'm going to have to think about that for a moment.
Okay.
What's an attribute of Musk? Of Jobs. Oh, so I remember when he died. It was actually really impactful because I was in an accounting class when the notification came through that he died. And that was the only stock I owned at the time. Like all my net worth was in Apple stock. And there was so much fear. I didn't sell any then. There was a lot of fear that, oh my gosh, this is the end of Apple. And I think if there's something to admire about Jobs, it's that he was able to really see problems and try to envision the best possible solution, or at least try to find that. I'll give a good example. Going from computer programming to function a computer, to operate a computer, to a visual interface. Very Jobsian. In fact, I'm pretty sure he is the founder of GUI, the graphical user interface. I'm not 100% sure about that, but I think that was a Jobs and Wozniak invention. Let's fact check that on myself really quick. So graphic user interface. So we'll look at that. In the meantime, you look at Jobs with going away from the stylus and the big keyboards that we had on phones to the all screen. I thought that was really incredible, and big fan of sort of this forward thinkingness. I think Musk resembles a lot of that, and what it really is finding a problem and then being frustrated. You're frustrated to a point where this should be better. And if I think it should be better, then that means there are other people who think it should be better too, which we do with our companies too, whether it's HouseHack or the other companies that we're developing, which, by the way, we're raising money for HouseHack. Go to househack.com to learn more. Read the offering circular. We're probably going to close that fundraise within the next 2 weeks. We're working out the exact timetables, and then we'll make an announcement. Oh, look at that. A charger teleported over. Thanks, man. But anyway, did we find anything on GUI in the meantime? That would be interesting. So I don't know why that's the memory of mine, but even if it's not that, maybe he was the one who made it like available to the mass consumers or whatever it was. But point is, those are things that I appreciate in an entrepreneur, is looking at how can we make the entire function of something more practical for a lot of people. And Jobs was a person who did that. In many regards. I mean, anything you touch. MP3 players were a pain in the ass before him. You had CDs. And it's so weird. The closer that charger is, the more feedback is in that mic.
It's so dumb.
That is crazy. It's a lesson. Charge your freaking computer, man. That's all right. I still love you, McKay.
It's all right. So, yeah, I think that's really cool, especially you remember exactly where you were when Jobs died. It was pretty impactful because it was all very fast and you just saw his life decline. I mean, I think I was 11 or 12 years old when it happened, but it was still pretty vivid for me.
Oh, my computer just died.
Are you serious?
No, I'm just kidding.
So the reason I had I don't always carry this book around with me, and I promise I don't. The reason I have this book here with me today, this is the Elon Musk biography by Walter Isaacson. Walter Isaacson also was the biographer of Steve Jobs, but Elon chose to have a quote by Steve Jobs at the beginning of his biography. The quote he picked by Steve Jobs was, "The people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do." And I really like that because it's hard to change the world accidentally or make a difference accidentally. You have to be pretty intentional about choosing what you want to do and the impact you want to have. And so Steve Jobs, we all have, almost all of us have a product here that Jobs.
Well, I've got the MacBook though.
That's true.
That is true. So the impact Steve Jobs had on the world was immense, and that wasn't by accident. And so that's, if I could take anything from Steve Jobs, it was definitely that. So after the Elon book, I'll probably be reading the Steve Jobs biography by Walter as well. What do you think, Mikey?
I agree. I also think it's not a coincidence that the people who typically make the biggest changes in the world are almost always despised when they're alive. And then as soon as they pass away, it's like, man, that guy was a legend. Yeah. Like,
that's a really
throughout
good point.
history, yeah.
So it looks like Xerox, I mean, there's a history of GUI going all the way back to like 1945. Xerox, so they created some kind of, what is this? Bitmap, in total, the Alto had a $40,000 price tag for GUI on a Xerox machine, some kind of computing machine here. It doesn't actually look like a printer, it's some kind of computer. So some kind of industrial style computer.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until Apple that basically took GUI and made it a mass market product.
What you're thinking, in 1983, Apple came out with the Lisa. And that was the first, it was considered like the first like freely available personal computer that ran on a graphical interface, unlike Windows, which everything was command line basically.
Aha. We have I'll throw up a picture here from Wikipedia of the Apple Lisa. If Christian, you can show my little checkerboard over here. What is this? We're getting bogged by Putin. Putin didn't like our hand grenade pins in every line talk. There it is. Look at that. The Lisa. Crazy. Look at that thing. That's got floppy. Look at that mouse. It's square. That's crazy. I don't think I've seen a square mouse.
That's pretty wild.
It's probably got one button too, I bet.
I think something else to admire about Steve Jobs is how easy, maybe I obviously wasn't behind closed doors, but how smooth the transition was to Tim Cook from Steve Jobs. He built a company that didn't collapse after he left, which some people may want that, like there's a certain kind of sinister attitude of like, I want the company to fail after I leave. Not wanting, but like, I want to prove how important I was to the company. I want it to suffer a little bit after I leave. But Apple only went to the moon after that, after he handed it off to Tim Cook. So that was pretty admirable that he built a company that could continue on after him.
Yeah, you're so right. That's such a good point. It was really almost seamless. And even in Apple stock, it was something where people were worried, but really all of those worries were unfounded. Great company. Great topic. Awesome. Cool. Great question, McKay. Good job, man. What's next?
You want to talk about some Newsom stuff?
Let's do it.
We were talking about the minimum wage increase yesterday, and it's not related to the minimum wage increase specifically, but it is related to California workers. Ooh. And that is that as of yesterday, Newsom signed a new law that Californians now get 5 days of paid sick leave rather than 3.
Ooh, okay.
So the question that I have for you with that is, with that new law, and then with the $20 minimum wage to, for fast food employees, how do you think this is impacting the local businesses? Because a lot, like the big kind of counterpoint to this is like, man, we can't afford 5 days of no workers. So, what say you, Kevin?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think what it is, like, on its own, is 2 more days really that big of a deal for a business on its own? 2 more days of paid sick leave? No, especially since sick time generally expires at the end of the year anyway. Is it really that big of a deal? No. But it's all of the stuff. It's when you start adding all those straws, so to speak, to the camel's back. Oh, it's a 20-hour minimum. It's this. It's the insurance requirements. It's the regulation requirements. It's the California taxes and the withholding and the business license fees from the local city. It's the utilities are more expensive. The rent's more expensive. The regulation for the permits are more expensive. Everything just makes it so difficult to do business in California. I'm not saying it's impossible to do business in California, but boy, you got to come in with a fatter checkbook to make it work for sure.
You often say that you wouldn't be surprised if there ever is a civil war that California is the one that started it. And you talked a lot about the straws on the camel's back. Do you think there is a point where maybe for you personally, or you could see the state of California being like, enough is enough, and they decide to? Do you see some significant pushback from the people?
Yeah, I think California would be one of those states that would have a civil war within itself. Like I know that sounds like crazy and maybe conspiratorial or whatever, but I feel like it's just the state where if what's happening in San Francisco spreads, it's going to happen because you're going to get the rest of the California that's like, build a wall around San Francisco. Do not San Francisco my Ventura.
And make the San Franciscans pay for it.
Exactly. Absolutely. I think, is that likely? No. But like if something like that were to ever happen, it wouldn't surprise me because people really have this impression that California is so horrible and it's a toxic wasteland. And that is true of some parts. Like definitely what's happened to San Francisco is disgraceful and a disaster, and it's sad. I walked from Twitter headquarters down to City Hall over there, and it's a disaster. Almost everything's closed. They're homeless everywhere. It is actually bad.
Yeah.
And if that was happening in our city, I would have left a long time ago.
I have this. I've only lived here for a year and a half. In my opinion, it took me about a year to love California. But after that year mark, I'm like, I love it here. Like the weather's amazing. It's not nearly what you see in the headlines. I have this theory that if you were to take Northern California and Southern California, Northern California would vote left and Southern California would vote right. Do you think that's true?
It's probably more of a vertical line, I'd say.
You think?
Like, I think so. Yeah, it's the coastal California is going to be really, really liberal. And then as soon as you get like 30 minutes inland, maybe call it an hour inland, it's all drill, baby, drill. Oh, I'm in Bakersfield. It's like it's very different. Fresno, Bakersfield, Sac. You call it purple.
I say Sac is purple.
Sac,
I think it's
but
very
that's the
purple.
capital too, so that kind of makes sense. So that's almost an exception to the inland. But you go Fresno, Bakersfield. You start getting some of the smaller towns even up north.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Redding. These are very red.
Well, speaking of Newsom and Redding, so
Yeah.
Redding's in Shasta County, and that's so right up by Mount Shasta up there. And so it is they're basically mostly conservative up there. And so they voted early this year to get rid of the contract they had with Dominion Voting Systems, because that's the one that Trump was saying, that they're cheating the election, all that, the one that, committing fraud and all that. And so the leaders up in Redding were basically saying, like, the public has lost their faith in these things.
Sure.
And so without having another plan in mind, they basically called out that contract and closed it up. So they have a special election coming up, and it's November 7th. And what they're planning on doing is hand counting the ballots.
No.
Well, so that's what Newsom said too, is no. And so he just passed a law that said, so the special election that's coming up, it's for school board, fire department, and then they're voting on two ballot measures. And just yesterday, Newsom signed in a ballot that said, no hand counting elections. The exceptions being if it's a regularly scheduled election with less than 1,000 eligible voters, or if it's a special election with less than 5,000 eligible voters. But this will also block, going forward, no county can close or cancel contracts for voting systems unless they already have a transition plan finalized and approved by the state.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, it sounds to me like I'm just trying to imagine this. I haven't counted ballots before, but I can just imagine the fatigue of counting ballots for 8 hours in a row. And you're going to start making a lot of mistakes. Like, I wonder if you would end up having more fraud just by mistake than if you had, electronic machines that were auditable. I don't think there's been a single case yet that has proven that maybe I'm wrong about this, but that has proven the Dominion machines were actually like fraud. And somehow rigged or whatever. I don't think there's been a single case about that. I actually think that Trump wasn't he found liable of basically bashing Dominion so much into the ground and there being no evidence for that?
That was Fox.
That was Fox?
Didn't they get sued by Dominion for that's what
Oh,
started the whole
it
Tucker.
was. I think
That
you're
started
right.
everything with Tucker.
That's right. It's
Tucker's
the
like, I
Dominion
don't think it's
Fox
anything.
lawsuit. That's it. That was it. Yeah.
But to your point, there's been no confirmed cases of fraud with them.
Yeah, and that's not to say that there aren't, and I'm all for checking and auditing and stuff like that. It's so funny. When I was running for governor in California, they're like, well, Kevin, do you trust the elections? I go, I trust the elections, but they should be audited. It's trust but verify. And then, the people, some people on the right are like, it's rigged, Kevin, the audit's going to reveal all. And the people on the left are like, who's going to pay for the audit? And I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah, it's a lose.
It's politics, man. It's politics. Yeah. Okay, good. So what else do we have?
We have Iman.
Yeah, do you wanna do a reaction? We've been talking about private jets all day. We got a video for you.
Okay, let's do that. Yeah, so I'll pull that up. Let me find this. Oh, right. Okay, this is the Iman Gadzhi guy who makes really inspirational stuff for probably younger people or whatever. He's got some really good editing in these things usually too.
Do you want to give some context before we start it, or do you want me to?
Yeah, go for it. Sure.
So this video is this video that you're about to watch right here.
Yeah, we got it up. Go
Okay,
ahead.
good. Yeah. So this video that you're about to watch right here is depicting what it's really like to own a private jet. You see some the good. No, you don't see a lot of the full picture, but with us here we have Mr. Kevin Paffrath, Mr. Meet Kevin, who actually owns a private jet and is here to tell us the full story.
Ooh,
expose
interesting.
it all. Expose what is he getting right, what is he getting wrong, and the full picture of what it's actually like to own a private jet.
Interesting. Okay, well, let's play it, and then we'll sort of just pause it as we go through it. Now, keep in mind, did they actually end up buying a jet?
No, they went to a jet store.
Okay. So there's this guy that's been going viral on TikTok who sells jets. I think he's like in London or the United Kingdom or something like that. And he's actually brilliant in that he has this like massive like electronic display. And he could just put stuff on this display to show them, the distance of how far your plane could go. And it's fantastic. I wish I had that experience when I was buying a plane because I was literally flying around the country to go visit different planes to see what the different planes were like.
Yeah.
It's in this video too. You'll see this in this video.
All right, let's listen in. So here we go. Let's get volume on this. Okay, yeah, sorry, waiting for when you're ready with volume.
This is actually right. You can see on the screen right now. That's the front entrance of the
Oh,
place.
perfect. Well, maybe we were a little too early anyway. Oh, there it
I
is.
think
There's
it's
the
about
board.
7:05. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
That's
Oh,
a
there we
good
go.
start.
All right, you ready?
Let's try it.
No audio yet?
Should be, you gotta check that the USB is.
Oh, okay. That's my fault, is what you're saying. Oh, yeah. Which one do you want, HDMI or Roadcaster? TBD?
Should be working. Oh, maybe
Stand by. Okay, maybe we're not going to be able to get the audio. We'll have to.
Yeah, maybe we can play with it and try.
Do you want me to go to
tomorrow,
the BMD HDMI or?
I wouldn't get that one.
Okay.
I'm gonna replay it.
Okay. We'll give that a second. So anyway, yeah. So I mean, this will be really interesting. He's pulling a great social media strategy, though. Look at that. Time is money. Buy a jet. Look at that in the neon sign here.
What are your thoughts on that phrase? Is that is that oversimplifying it, or could you quite simply put it like that?
Yeah, well, it depends what you're going to do with it. I think a private jet is a scam for 99% of people who end up buying one. It's a luxury. It's like a posh product or whatever. It depends what you're going to do with it. So if you're going to run a business that requires you or a company or whatever to get around quickly to a lot of different places, this is 100% true. But I don't think the vast majority of people who own planes utilize them the way they should be utilized.
Got it.
I think you might touch
Should we
upon
try?
it in the video. Yeah, let's see.
Try replaying in that USB.
Oh yeah, we'll do the famous. Did you plug it in kind
You
of?
start it
it in,
and
plug it
turn it
back in.
off and turn it back on.
Yeah. What were you saying, Mikey?
Well, first of all, I'm glad we've moved on to USB-C because those old USB-C or USB-A's always had I say three sides,
Yeah.
the wrong side, the other wrong side, and you were right the first time. So bless this, reversible
USB-Cs,
USB format.
yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Let's see if this plays because I think they
There we
cover
go.
it. Perfect.
Upon entering it, my favorite phrase is "time is money, buy a jet." So I mean, it really is the whole basis of owning an airplane. I'm always saying, it's not about luxury. It's really about
Bullshit. It for 99% of people, it's all about luxury. They're walking in there trying to justify their plane. That's what they're doing.
time machine and being a capital asset to a company.
To a company, that's true.
A club room where sometimes, like right now, we have a client in the main studio there, and so if we really want to, I have another video wall here that I could do another presentation on. However, this one I can't do the full floor plan of all the airplanes, and I'll take you through the app on that wall because it's just much more effective. It's one of these experiential journeys, if you want to call it that. If you're really interested in trying to buy an airplane, it's an unbelievable tool. So this is a little bit more of a private kind of atmosphere.
I know it's an ashtray there. You guys smoking here?
You can do whatever you want here.
Classic sales guy, by the way. Yeah. Classic sales. I mean, I love it. And you can see, I own one of these little displays. After you buy a plane in the industry, it's very common that the salesperson will get your exact paint job for your plane with your tail number, paint it, and they give it to you as a closing gift.
Nice.
It takes like 3 to 6 months to actually get it, but it's pretty cool, and I have one for mine, and it's a fantastic closing gift. It's a very, very good closing gift.
As clown side.
Oh, is it a little loud on the music? I don't know. You guys are good? Okay. I don't know if we want to skip the music, honestly. I mean, this here, let's get to the here.
Section of the aircraft. I
This
didn't
is
really
the front entrance of
build
his
this
building
thing
right
in
here.
here, put it in the front window really to sell Airbuses or Boeings. The real reason was obviously is a marketing gimmick to catch the people's eyes in the window.
Here on Park Lane, hereabouts in Knightsbridge, I always used to see a jet.
A good marketing little play is this is
That's
really
the TV you're talking
the money
about.
shot. People come driving down this road, and there's about, well, pre-COVID, there was about 90,000 vehicles every day going up and down here. About 40 people who own a jet every day passing through this window. And
They still
half
talk about
different every
pre-COVID
day. So what we
numbers.
do is at nighttime, we take this little advertisement or video and we put it over here. So at night, everything is black around here. And then so when they drive down, they see this little video in the window, and then they see the airplane, then they see inside the window. And if they have anything to do with corporate aircraft, normally they will find the time to come back here and come inside here.
This guy's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I love this. Like, these are just like the little efficiencies I try my best to apply to everything I'm doing as well. What can I do to make something just slightly more efficient? The fact that it's just a click over, brilliant.
And you're already paying for like a great location. Might as well fully utilize that to like market.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, 90,000 people passing a day. That's like owning a YouTube channel almost. Like, you have 90,000 people watching.
Yeah.
A couple carrots in my ears, enough carrots for me.
So that's his office.
Right. So this is basically just a little studio. Okay.
Models. What we do now is we have to figure out a sensible way to filter the airplanes out that don't meet your parameters. Honestly, what would be the maximum budget that you would want to spend?
30 mil.
Okay. Do you want to have
Can we pause it
one
for a second? This may be a miss. Like, I feel like most people that want to buy a jet have done their own research and say, like, I want this one. They're not going to a broker to be sold on like a wide selection. People spending that amount of money on a jet usually have done their own research. Like, I want this one. Help me get it.
I guess it depends who it is, you know. I mean, I did, but there are definitely also people like I wonder how much time someone like Taylor Swift would spend, you know, or like somebody who's got like billions of dollars is just like, you know, okay, somebody else go figure it out for me. You know, they don't even have time to make that decision. So you probably have a duality there.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, somebody also, by the way, going in saying, oh yeah, I'm going to spend $30 million. This is like such perfect, like, delicious juice for YouTube, because like you could just say, oh yeah, I'm going to spend $100 million on a jet, and you make your video and you just like never actually buy a plane. Like, it's perfect. It's totally makes the senses tingle for YouTube. Let's keep going.
Section, 2 sections, or 3 sections. There's 4 or 5 or 6 people in a section. What do you think is?
8 minimum.
8 minimum. So now we're down to 58. The next one is the maximum range. So the longest trip from A to B, where do you think that would be 5 or 6 times a year?
I'd say farthest realistic, I don't know, maybe Dubai to London.
This is the range that you can go nonstop. Okay, so anywhere in Europe.
This would have been
make
very
it to
useful
South
for us to
Africa,
know.
and
Well, I mean, they give you this in brochures and stuff. It's just a different presentation.
Got it.
Like we for our mission profile for the plane that we have, we knew exactly what we wanted, which was West Coast America.
And he kind of sells it as like, you know, if you want to be able to get from London to Dubai, you need at least this plane. But he doesn't mention, like, you could also just stop for gas anywhere.
Correct. And so that is such a great point, Mikey, because here's the thing. His question was, what is the longest distance you want to go, maybe 4 to 6 times a year? Okay, that's insane. Let me give you some real math here, because we've done this math. We might go from California to Florida, say extreme 50 times a year. If I wanted to buy a plane for that mission profile of doing 50 trips to Florida nonstop, as opposed to stopping for gas once and then continuing going, it would cost me $20,000 per stop per year. So every time you stop for 30 minutes to get gas, imagine writing a check for 20 grand and lighting it on fire. So the fact that he's trying to sell the plane on what are you going to rarely use. Keep in mind, we're in like we just passed the end of September. We're in early October here. So 10 months, we've done somewhere around probably 250 flights on the plane, 250 legs. And we've stopped for gas maybe 10 times, if that. I don't even know that we stopped 10 times.
Probably around 10.
Maybe? Okay. Yeah. But I mean, certainly not like, I mean, what is that? That's 5%? It's crazy. Like, why are you going to buy a bigger plane for 5% of the use case? That's insane because you're going to pay 2 or 3 times as much.
But we started figuring out, instead of making those fuel stops like a fuel stop, we started adding efficiency, like looking at real estate around the fuel stop. Because it takes about 20 to 30 minutes, and you can see 1 or 2 properties in that time and come back. So we started adding.
Well, we just stay a little longer too.
Yeah, we add that efficiency into the fuel stop.
Exactly. Like, for example, we go to Florida, we'll stop in Austin, which happens to be a market we're looking at for real estate anyway. So it's perfect. So it's really planning. You're right. Can eliminate all of that anyway. But anyway, okay, let's keep going here.
And you can make it to Singapore. However, this is with no wind, right? So now, this was the winds last week at 35,000 feet. So what this means is that you're going to be able to fly faster when you're going east, and you're not going to be able to go as far on range, or it's going to take you longer when you're going west. You can see that here, you can make Singapore with all these airplanes. But if you were to start now in Singapore, and you watch this is so you can see, if I go to Singapore, you are just barely. Matter of fact, if the winds get a little bit worse and get to 75 knots average, you're not going to make it back in that G280. One of the things people don't ever ask, which they absolutely should ask, is how much baggage can I put in my airplane? You can see that this number is the 6.4 cubic meters of luggage, and this is half. And I can tell you, this is a nightmare question. Every time somebody has an airplane, they never ask this question, and this is the most important thing of every flight.
Did you ask that question?
I actually did, but I don't know that it's the most important question. I like it when salespeople tell you this is what other people don't ask. In fact, when I sit down in a sales presentation, I usually ask, what am I not asking? What am I missing, right? It's a fair point to bring up, but I think what's surprising to me is we have a Phenom 300 plane, and we'll go through some of the numbers. A Phenom 300E, it's like a 2021 model. The thing cost $12.9 million. And I pay for it. It's not like House Hack, my real estate startup. It doesn't pay a dime towards this. And let me put up a couple more boxes. Don't show this just yet, Christian, so I can put up. I just want to hide like pilot names and stuff like that. Doesn't belong in here. But I actually just got my statement, which will show you how much this plane has cost all year for the 10 months that we've had it so far. And for the flights that we've done, we could look at fuel and all this sort of stuff. I'll tell you, out of all of this stuff, the baggage has really never been an issue, like an unsolvable issue. And I've done trips with, and this is a smaller plane, done trips with a family, ski trips. We have 9 seats on the plane plus 2 pilots.
Whole podcast setup goes in that spot.
When we travel with the podcast setup, those are a lot of boxes, like 18 Pelicans or something like that. I don't know, it's something crazy. But anyway, we have not had an issue. Would it be nice to have even more room? Of course. But I mean, like, are you trying to plan for like this extreme, or are you trying to plan for your daily use?
But remember that you pay that back in fuel.
Oh my gosh,
the more room you have, the more luggage you bring, the more it costs to get there.
Well, not only that, the bigger the plane, the more fuel.
Yeah.
So, like, think about like a G280. Let's see what a G280's fuel burn is. So this is what they're pulling up here. Fuel burn per hour. Everything in these planes is per hour. So you are looking at, let's see, how many gallons an hour does it use? 237. So we're at about 165. So 237 divided by 165. This burns about 43% more fuel than our plane does. So let's now compare this. I'll pull this up in just a second here. Christian, give me nothing for a second here. Let me find this. And let's actually see how much fuel and what our expenses have been. So go ahead and pull this up. Here's a full breakdown of all of the expenses for our plane. And you could see here are the September expenses. And here on the right side are the annual, so year-to-date expenses. And so it looks like aircraft maintenance, we're at about 42. I'll just focus on yearly figures right now. 10,000, well, 10,000 for the month. Oh, I guess we just hit some more maintenance. Anyway, $42,000 for the year. Jet management. This is like a manager to manage the pilots and the service and your rental cars and all that kind of, like, all the coordinating. $64,000. Charges just to use the little machine that actually turns your engines on for the plane. $2,000.
And you need those in the summer because it gets hot.
Well, that's to run your AC, but it's also to start your plane. It's both. And some of them suck. But these right here are flight fees for contract pilots. We had $168,000 worth of contract pilot fees. $3,000 of health insurance. You've got warranty fees here. These are like Embraer ECC fee. These are this is your sort of per hour you pay a fee for warranty, basically. Oh, good. We only paid $30 for de-icing. We've never de-iced, so I want to know why we have a $30 de-icing charge here. De-icing's probably about $1,500 per time for a Phenom, and if they're low on the product, it could be as high as $8,000 just to de-ice.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you got to get in the hangar if you ever go in the snow. Embraer, okay, that's the warranty. You've got engine warranty here. So I like the engine programs, the maintenance programs, $100,000 for 10 months of engines. Fuel, $282,000 burned in fuel. That's like a condo burned in gas. And so now if I had a bigger plane, like that 280 for that rare time you need to go a little further and don't want to stop, $282,000 times 43% in this example here. So $282,000 times 43% would have cost me another $121,000 just to have a slightly larger plane. 280 has about the same number of seats.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. It's
So-
still a small plane.
Yeah, same number of seats, and you're paying $100,000 more just in gas. Why? Like, you have to really analyze your mission profile when you look at these planes. Hangar rental, $34,000. Good Lord. Insurance, $35,000. Landing fees, that's actually surprisingly low. $1,100 for landing fees. That's because if you buy a minimum number of fuel, they don't actually charge you a landing fee.
I wonder if those are the tips. The tips are paying the guys luggages and stuff.
Maybe it could be that. That could be under total pilot reimbursements, which are $62,000.
It's also
you
worth
forgot that
noting.
line item.
You have a smaller plane, so you can land on smaller runways, and those airports typically charge much lower landing fees
True.
than if you had a big one, had to land in
Oh.
San Francisco,
Oh my
LAX, all these bigger airports.
You want to get ripped off, land in San Francisco. I mean, like, that's the story of California, though. It's like San Francisco, total ripoff. It's like $9.50 for a gallon of gas. The service is bad. They don't care about you. You got to walk in, which sounds first worldish, but when you're carrying 20 bags, that's a pain in the ass. As opposed to you go to the smaller airports. I went to Canada. The car's right there. They'll load up your luggage. The manager of the airport where we landed is like, oh, you can't fit all your luggage in your rental cars. My apologies. We'll take my pickup truck and I'll follow you for the 45 minutes to get to your Airbnb and make sure you get all your luggage home safe, eh? It was great. They were so nice. They're so accommodating.
Yeah, I was because there was one rental car short. I'm like freaking out trying to get you this rental car.
Texting, right?
Yeah,
right.
and then our airplane manager's like, hey, they got it all taken care of. And then I heard that story. I'm like, wow, like that's
They're so
insane.
good. Yeah. And that wasn't their fault. That was the rental car companies. But anyway, so you could see some other things. Pilot training, $17,000. Pilot salary, you add it all together, these pilot salaries for a year are way, way higher than this, but that's because we had contract for a while and stuff. You've got, and this is 9 months here, ramp parking fees, $4,400 just to park outside. You don't even get a hangar. You don't even get coverage just for parking. Overnight, you're paying $4,000. Rent expense. I gotta ask them what I'm renting here because I don't know what. Oh, maybe that was the life raft. It was the life raft. When we went to Puerto Rico to visit Peter Schiff, you need a raft.
How long were you over the water?
Like an hour and a half. Oh yeah, look at this. Voice and data charges. This is your internet. $69,000 for the internet. This is stupid. Airplanes are like so expensive. Look at that. This sucker has cost me $1.3 million just to operate for the year. That doesn't even include your mortgage on it when you have a loan. It's crazy. Anyway, let's go back to the video. So let's tab out of there for a sec.
That's what it's really like owning a jet.
Yeah, that's when you actually own a jet rather than going to the sales office going, yeah, I want a $30 million plane. Ooh. Okay, let's keep playing the video.
So this is 100% scale, okay? So I'm 6 foot, I'm 180. This is the exact size.
That's cool. It's nice to be able to see that. A lot of people, they really want to be able to stand all the way, but you're sitting most of the time, and that's the scam because in 2021, at the end of 2021, I was looking at the Praetor 600, which you could roughly stand in. Beautiful plane, gorgeous. And the Phenom 300E, which I have, you can't stand in. You crouch to get through it, but you're sitting most of the time. Difference in price? Mine, $12.9 million. Praetor 600, $24 million. Is it worth paying 50% more in fuel cost, twice the cost for the plane, basically? Probably not, for those little things. That's when you get into like the luxury, like it's a ripoff, Hey, let's keep going.
And so if I wanted to take, let's say, the seats on the Gulfstream and compare it to the Challenger, that's the difference in the aisle width. It doesn't look like too big of a deal. You're getting a little bit more aisle width, but really where you see the difference is when we look at the floor plan. So this is 100% scale of the Gulfstream 550. You got the kitchen door here, the galley door, and most airplanes, the front section has these 4 single seats. This is really the normal setup. So the G550, this is what it looks like outside, and this is what it looks like inside. So you can see it's got those 3 sections. This is the door that closes off, and you got that bedroom back there and the bathroom behind it. This airplane's got, for the class, it's got the biggest window. See how big that window is?
Yeah.
It's a huge window. This is twice the size of, let's say, the windows on the airlines. Up front, you have
this sales guy. You know what he just said? These windows are twice the size of commercial. Oh, the comparison.
If you get a window seat on commercial.
But it's funny. It's these sales presentations are designed to hit on pain points. Oh, you want to be able to stand, right? You don't want to run out of baggage space, do you? I mean, come on. They're all like, oh, it's not commercial. It's all designed to
Singapore. You got to get there in one stop, man. You can't make a fuel stop.
We didn't hear it. I mean, maybe he said it, but we didn't hear it in the video edit. There was no talk about fuel stop, like you said, Mike. Yeah.
A really big kitchen. Flight attendant can prepare anything.
You don't need a flight attendant.
Anything.
You don't need a flight attendant. This is ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous.
Just make one of your employees your flight attendant.
Yeah, Senor McKay.
They can bring your food from Whole Foods, or you can get it from Harry's Bar, or wherever you want it. And you can get it from whatever place you want, but it's nice when it's prepared fresh on the airplane. Let's say this airplane, you're going to fly it 350 hours a year, and you're going to pay $450 a gallon. Okay, that airplane's going to cost about $3.6 million a year to run it.
Yep.
Okay, which is about $10,000 an hour. Really, the main thing, there's 3 things you could do to interior. There's soft goods, which is
I wish I could see all of it.
He goes in a little more detail in just a minute.
Does he?
Yeah,
okay.
he breaks
all
it
right,
down.
All right. We'll go through
all the fabrics, whether it's the side panels, the ceiling, the seats, the carpet, that kind of stuff. Then the other part is the color of the wood, and then the other one is moving furniture around. To move furniture around,
it's expensive.
This blew my mind.
Expensive.
No. Listen, we have a joke on the plane. We have a joke. Anything you want to do on the plane is $250,000. Everything is $250. You want to put on Starlink, that'll be $250. You want to put in a coffee maker, that'll be $250. You want to reskin the wood on the inside, that'll be $250. You want to redo the upholstery and the carpet, that'll be $250. And we're talking $250,000 for every fracking thing you want to do on these damn things. It's a ripoff. We don't even have a coffee maker. We have a coffee pot. It's a delicious coffee pot, though. The coffee pot's $15,000, just the pot. It is the most expensive coffee pot that exists. It's an aviation coffee pot. $15,000 just for the canister. And they take it inside and they brew the coffee inside in like the little wherever the airport is that you're in, and they fill it up, and then you have coffee for your whole flight. The coffee's great. It stays warm. It's nice.
$15K is crazy.
For a pot. That's just the pot.
Wow.
That's not even the whole unit. That's not the warming unit. I'm literally talking about the canister that holds the liquid. When you remove that to go fill it up or wash it out in your kitchen sink, $15,000 for a little metal box.
Jeez.
Nope. Keep going.
To redo engineering drawings. I mean, literally on a G550, just to give you an idea, if you wanted to change this couch to 2 chairs, it would cost about $400,000.
What percentage of jet owners would you say just genuinely have it for personal use or corporate use? 2/3.
It's one-third.
What did I say? Most people, it's just a luxury. It's not and honestly, I think it's even less than that. I think, like I said, it's like 99%.
Yeah, I think that's way too high. I think very few people have it for personal use.
Oh, wow. You have the opposite opinion. Okay.
He said the other 1/3 is like charter planes.
Oh, charter.
He mentions charter. So somebody asks in the comments, Kevin, why don't you use FlexJet or NetJets?
Oh, my God. Dude, you want to see me get absolutely reamed and ripped off? It's a very good question because a lot of people do ask me that. I'll tell you why, and I'll make it quick. So basically, I did the math on this. NetJets is going to cost you about $12,000 an hour for a Phenom 300, but they're going to charge you 12 minutes on takeoff and land. So 12 minutes on takeoff and land is 24 minutes. So 24 minutes, if your average flight is 90 minutes, 24 out of 90 is about 26% of the time they're billing you for is takeoff and land, okay? So why does that matter? Because that means if you have a flight hour and you're trying to compare flight hour, it's not actually $12,000 for a flight hour. It's actually 26% more for a flight hour. So now you have to go $12,000 times 26%. I've done all this math so many times. It's about $15,000 per hour for NetJets. Okay, and I love NetJets. They are a great company. They're a great product. If I was gonna if I just wanted to be bougie, the way you would do this is you get a 25-hour flight card with like NetJets. You spend, $300K or whatever it is. It might be closer to like $350 now, but whatever it is, you get these NetJets cards, the 25, and remember the number they're selling you doesn't yet include the takeaway of those 12 minutes on each end. Anyway, so you get one of those cards, and then you can be like, oh yeah, well, the occasional time I want to charter a plane, I could do that. And then it's kind of like you just use the points. So it's like going to Dave & Buster's. You spend $100 on the reload card, and then it's just kind of like, oh yeah, I want a flight, and then you swipe it. Okay, that works for like the bougie, a few times a year you're going to go fly, right? This does not work for us because I expect our flight time this year and next year will probably average 400 to 500 hours, which is quite a lot of flying.
Isn't the average like 250?
The average flight time for no, I think that's I think we were calculating like the break evens or whatever, like 250 or something to compare or whatever. But if we're at about 400 on average, our flight hours cost about $6,000. So if you consider that our flight hours cost about $6,000, that's less than half of the NetJets per hour. And these are like my real actual hours, not their rigged hours. If I fly 500 hours a year, which is probably going to be likely next year. If I fly, sorry, pilots, if they're watching.
Enjoy it now.
Enjoy your next 2 weeks, boys. 2 weeks from now, it'll be like, we're giving 2 weeks notice.
we have a shared calendar with the pilots when we update when we're flying, when we might be flying, when we're definitely flying, and might fly, might not fly, and then possibly flying. And so they see when Kevin changes it. We have a 2-week span, and Kevin has some life events going on that they're not going to be flying for a couple of weeks.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
So they're going to enjoy it.
So, but anyway, if I fly, most of the cost in owning a plane, people forget this, is owning it. It's not in flying it. Most of the cost is you pay your pilot salaries, your insurances, your warranty programs, your the maintenance, the hangar, whatever, right?
All the fixed stuff.
All the fixed costs. So the fixed costs for mine are around 1.9. If I fly at 400 hours, I'm about 2.3 to 2.4 in cost. If I fly at 600 hours, 50% more, it only costs me 10% more.
Wow.
So it actually brings my cost. If I were to fly 600 hours, my cost per hour would go down to about $4,300 all in. So now when people are like, why don't you use NetJets? I'm like, because I don't want to get ripped off.
Yeah.
It's simple. It's simple math. Okay, let's go back to the video here, and let's wrap this up.
Of all airplanes are out on the charter for third-party charter.
Because I think that's probably one of the things that most people don't understand. It's, okay, cool, very nice, you bought your jet, this, that. Now you're down $3 million a year just to maintain it and upkeep it.
Yep.
Are you seeing that more and more jet owners are buying it, understanding that, for example, in my position, I'm spending maybe $400,000 or $500,000 a year on jet charters. Why don't I buy a jet myself?
Okay, what's hilarious about that, and most people are not going to get this, but when he's like, oh yeah, I spent $400,000 or $500,000 on jet charters, bro, that's 30 hours. Unless you got a bigger plane, that might be like 15 hours. Okay, that's not impressive. We flew over 250 hours just in the last 10 months. I'm not trying to compare, but I'm just saying, you do not belong in this store. In fact, if I were the salesperson and somebody walked in going, well, I just spent $400,000 on jet charters, I want to buy a jet, I'd be like, you shouldn't be in here. You should never buy your own plane unless you're flying at least 200 hours. And prove it. Try it. Go get the jet card and prove that you maxed it out. Anyway, keep going.
And then why don't I charter it out in the meantime?
Well, that is a great question.
Okay, that's when you can't afford it. Sorry.
Yeah.
When you have to charter out your plane and other people are shitting up your jet, it's because you can't afford it.
I want to Airbnb my plane so I can make the payments.
Question. When you're operating it, when you have an airplane, the budget is broken up into two things. You got fixed cost and you have variable cost. Fixed cost is what you have to pay whether you fly 1 hour or 400 hours. Okay, it's the pilot salaries, it's the insurance, it's the hangar, all those things. Whether you move the airplane or not, you pay. And then every hour you fly it, you have fuel, landing fees, catering, pilots, hotels, Eurocontrol.
That's true.
Flight, all that
a lot of
kind
people
stuff.
don't realize that you actually are paying if you stay overnight. The pilots need to stay somewhere. You're paying for a hotel, you're paying for lunch, you're paying for dinner. Because that's not included in the pilot salary. The owners has to pay that.
Yeah, and the pilots are brilliant because they'll like always book Marriott's. So they're like Marriott Platinum or whatever like the highest level is, and they take all the points. I'm like, hey, when do I get my points? I'm paying for it. Let's keep going.
So the variable cost per hour is $5,700. So if you're flying 400 hours a year, it costs you $4,000 an hour fixed cost plus 50, so it's $9,500 an hour. But if you start flying more hours, then this is less per hour.
Correct.
So it's cheaper to fly per hour the more you fly it.
Yes.
If you're able to charter this airplane for $12,000 an hour, dollars we're talking about, and every hour is costing you half that, that means you're making $6,000 an hour profit, not including fixed costs. If you can charter the airplane.
A quick reminder, it's worth noting that the more hours the plane has, the less the value the plane has. So you do have depreciation, which is not factoring in here, but maybe some would say that's a smaller detail.
And then you have to do your maintenance once engines hit a certain hour, so then you have downtime.
Yes, honestly, that's actually a good point. Downtime is a pain in the butt with the planes.
Expensive downtime.
Well, yeah, because you can't function when it's down. All right, let's keep going.
Now, for 200 hours, that's 200 times 6, you're making a profit of $1.2 million.
Maybe.
That comes off of this, and now your fixed costs are only $400,000. So if you're flying now.
This is how to sell a plane, by the way. If you're going to sell a plane, you tell them how you can Airbnb it. That's why real estate prices went up.
If half the 200 hours and you're renting it out for 200 hours, if you get this to 400,000 and you're flying 200 hours a year, it's $2,000 an hour plus this, so now it's costing you $7,500 an hour. And the more you fly it, the cheaper it gets. You'll say, well, I can go rent it out 300 hours a year. You can. But, every other day you're going to get a phone call. You have to give owner approval. And you're going to say, well, who is it? I just did the interior. I don't want them to have red wine. I don't want them to smoke. I don't want them to have a dog. I don't want them to have a coffee. Because they're going to spit on the carpet. And on a Gulfstream, to replace the carpet, it's $70,000. So, or if you have a kid who's chartering the plane, he has a Sharpie and he's, oh, mommy, and right across the wall on the SUED, and you're not going to get it out, so you have to replace the pan. These kind of things are inconvenient.
Yeah,
that was great.
It's a good point because you see these influencers with their feet on the upholstery. It's like those are not those influencers' jets. They are chartering them. Somebody will be paying for those feet marks on the upholstery, and so when you rent it out, it's just like you're at anybody's.
Well, it's also worth remembering that there is competition in jet chartering. People why am I going to go fly Iman's jet as a charter when I could go to NetJets, where NetJets has a fleet of hundreds of planes and they have a reputation to protect. So if you're charging the same as NetJets, if they're charging $12K an hour and you're charging $12K an hour, why would I go to an unknown plane owner compared to a corporation? Because here's the thing, plane owners are notorious for skimping on maintenance, whereas corporations are not, because the corporations have to they're liable to their shareholders. If they're screwing up on maintenance, you can destroy the entire company. Whereas an individual owner, it's just it's just one plane, So.
Yeah. All right, I want to ask you the question everybody's wondering. Why do you have a jet? What is the reason, and why can't you just take commercial?
Right. So my media business, Meet Kevin, pays for the plane, and that's the YouTube channel. House Hack, my real estate startup, has paid $0 towards the plane. We're keeping it that way. There's no expectation to ever change that. The other businesses, our ETF or whatever, nobody pays for the plane. Kevin pays for the plane. We want to make that very clear. Why do I pay for the plane? I pay for the plane because I want to be the best CEO ever. And in my opinion, if I'm running multiple companies, so I have to be here in a podcast set, I have to be in my morning studio set, I have to be in Salt Lake in the afternoon, and then I have to be back for podcasts. I can only do that with a plane like this. And you guys have seen it. What has your experience been, McKay, over this last year? Tell us some of your days.
You would not be able to operate So I go probably on 75% of the trips. The other 25%, we still have a team. We still have multiple companies we're running here. I don't go on every flight, but I go on 75% of them. And like in the morning, Kevin's media business is the priority. Then he goes, okay, house hack real estate. Okay, he has some ETF things he has to answer. Okay, he has some other meetings with some other businesses that are in development. You could not have that. I don't even want to say luxury. It is very much a tool. We don't get to go, oh, he gets to go on the private jet. It's like, okay, everybody has their iPads because they're working on a project. There's always something being done. And if you take that time that you're saving with a jet and you were to put that going through TSA, going through security, oh, your bag got lost, now you have to wait at the baggage checking for 2 hours. The amount of time that we save, and that's not the excuse we use, but it increases our productivity to be able to run these businesses, to allow you to be the best CEO to House Hack shareholders. It allows you to be the best CEO for your employees, and it allows you to be the best dad you can be for your kids, to be at home to tuck them in at night after flying to 3 different states.
That's also true. Yeah, I mean, we're about to double our children at home from 2 to 4, and then maybe some more next year, knock on wood. But anyway, yeah, I mean, it's wild. I would not have decided to create the real estate startup House Hack if I didn't have this, because I would have had to have dumped my other business ideas, because then like the amount of time it takes to operate House Hack it's a lot, and I'm willing to dedicate that time, but I don't have the time to sit at an airport 4 times a week and then never see my family, because then I'm not living, then I'm a slave.
Yeah.
And I will always give every ounce of commitment that my companies need. They're my babies, but it wouldn't be possible without the plane.
And if you're like, as a House Hack investor, if you're a House Hack investor listening to this, obviously, if you're interested, go to the website, read the circular, very important. There's always risks into investing into startups. House Hack investors are getting the best of both worlds. They're getting you dedicating every hour possible to House Hack while still getting the benefits of a jet that they're not paying for. Such a huge benefit of being an investor. The company is not paying for the jet. Like Kevin says it, but as the person that makes sure that Kevin is doing everything he's saying he's doing, House Hack does not pay any jet costs. It is phenomenal.
Yeah, this is
phenomenal.
Phenomenal. Just like the Phenom 300. Well, we got another podcast to get to, so hopefully you enjoyed the market close version, and we're still trying to figure out the best time to do this. Give us some feedback in the comments, please. We try to hit different topics. Obviously, we had Elon Musk in this. We had talk about jet. I mean, there are a lot of things that we talked about in this. If you like this, you found it helpful, leave us a comment down below. If you'd like a different time frame or you have other feedback, let us know. Am I missing anything, guys?
No.
Go to meetkevin.com. Check out the crash courses. Good?
I'm glad we had this talk.
This was fun. Awesome.
Good stuff.
Thanks.
Iman to shadow.
What?
You should invite Iman to shadow.
Oh, yeah.
so
Iman can come shadow with us and experience. Yeah. If you see the video, hit us up and come shadow us on the plane. You can see what a real plane owner does.
Oof.